For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Between the Consumer Price Index, inflation, and job reports, it feels like you need a PhD in economics to fully understand the economic news happening around us every day. That's why you need the Everyday Economics Podcast. Join hosts Chris Krug and economist Dr. Orphe Devungi as they help you understand the economic world happening around you every day. Listen to the Everyday Economics Podcast at americastalking.com or wherever you get your podcast.
Wealth Health Radio.
The biggest fears that people have is, do I have enough money to retire?
Retirement doesn't have to be complicated.
To make sure that you're going through retirement with confidence.
Learn principles of income planning.
There's a lot of different facets that you need to take into consideration when you're retiring.
Tune into Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, noon to 1 p.m. Sundays on AM 560. The Answer.
Does pain in your life impact everything you do, like walking, climbing stairs, even getting out of your car? You don't have to live like this. Hey, Amy Jacobson here with a solution. Joint pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, and back due to arthritis or an injury can be eliminated. How? Well, with the help from our good friends at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics regenerative treatments are sweeping the nation. Everyone's talking about it. And they're right here in Chicago under the guidance of medical director Dr. Ashley Caravelli. Here's how it works. QC Kinetics treatments prompt your body to heal and restore damaged joints. Joint pain doesn't get better with time. See if you're a candidate for these life-changing treatments. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation and tell them Amy Jacobson sent you. Saturday appointments available. Call 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. Again, 312-809-5955.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
We will win. We won't rest. We won't rest.
That's Pagliacci and Mad Maxine Waters, No Justice, No Peace Maxine, the other day at that a rally of Marxist rabble for the USAID funding for all sorts of reasons. And the layers of the onion continue to get peeled back at USAID. We have more on that this morning. But we will win. We won't rest. Nothing like a couple of I think one's a septuagenarian and one's an octogenarian, rallying the youth to take it to the streets. I mean, it's just so
and then he changes his cheer to like, we will fight, we will win. And then there's the older congressman waving his cane with the gold handle on it. Like,
the gerontocracy. So we will win. We won't rest. Well, you better not rest because you're not winning. Caroline Levitt, during the briefing yesterday, had an update on additional funding that was flowing from USAID that will no longer flow.
I was made aware of the funding from USAID to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room. And I can confirm that the more than $8 million taxpayer dollars that have gone to essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico on the American taxpayers' dime will no longer be happening. The DOJ team is working on canceling those payments now.
$8 million hit, the subscription revenue at Politico, that's going to sting.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on that same line. I had no idea they were getting that kind of money.
Well, this is this is a game that the state-run media plays all the time. You know, big spend. You have media outlets that are doing your bidding. So the least you can do is buy an inordinate number of subscriptions, premium, I'm sure, in order to support the outlets that support you. I mean, there's benefits to serving as the big government press corps, but those benefits are being rescinded under this president. $8 million for Politico subscriptions. Anything you want to read at Politico, for the most part, you can read for free.
Exactly. You don't need $8 million. There's also, she mentioned other frivolous spending yesterday.
$2 million for sex changes in Guatemala, $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt, $20 million on a new Sesame Street show in Iraq, $4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. Democrats are outraged that the American people want to be, they want their taxpayers going to good uses, not stuff like this. But then they're very quiet about the fact that there are still North Carolinians and people in California who have lost everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of points there, right? The frivolity of the spend, the cultural Marxism that they're attempting to export, the opportunity cost that you mentioned. We're spending, it's only $50 billion. Well, it's $50 billion could go a long way in North Carolina right now as compared to DEI musicals in Ireland and so forth. But the media piece is a big one.
Yeah.
And it's going to get even bigger a little bit later on when we talk about this latest development, thanks to the investigative work of Michael Schellenberger, that provides another indication of why the left is so hysterical about this focusing in on USAID and cutting out the Politico subscriptions and all of the other Marxist frivolities. But there's bigger things than that. We talked earlier in the week about something that Michael Benz from the Foundation for Freedom Online identified, which is the money that was being funneled from USAID to the Tides Foundation to a nonprofit cut out of the Tides Foundation, involved with other billionaire family foundations like Soros Open Societies and the Kellogg Foundation and the CIA. And they were providing funding for an organization that's a subordinate of the Tides Foundation to train up left-wing decarceration, non-prosecution prosecutors. So it wasn't just Soros. In fact, he wasn't the biggest spender. It was USAID through this array of foundations and nonprofits that are supported by USAID's decisions with our money.
Do you know who had a contract with them for a little bit? Was Burisma. But then they had a contract with USAID with Hunter Biden, but Obama put that to rest.
Well, right, and that's where we're gonna get to, because there's some indication that USAID, along with the CIA, again, they're involved in censorship. They're funding Nina Jankowicz's outfit that she stood up in the UK after the disinformation board under Mayorkas and DHS didn't work out. So censorship, non-prosecution, decarceration prosecutors like the Kim Foxes of the world that have facilitated the disintegration of America's big cities, and also involvement with Trump's impeachment, setting up the Trump impeachment. We'll get to that, but just a little bit more color on USAID from inside the house, if you will. Mark Moyer was a USAID director, Trump 1.0, and he recounted on Jesse Waters' program how he was introduced, onboarded into USAID.
So I didn't get into the agency till February 2018, and this is one of the big differences that we're already seeing. That in 2017. Trump administration was very slow to get into the agency. So I get there in February, and we have what's called a privilege walk as part of the orientation, where you are given an identity. Now, I was a Scandinavian woman, and so when they read lines like, I get discriminated against because of government services, or people don't look how I look. So you took a step forward if it applied and if it didn't. And so I ended up near the front, and the indigenous woman with, unwanted pregnancy and the male prostitute were at the other end, and then we talked about our privileges.
Mm-hmm. I was identified. I had to play the role of a Scandinavian with the role of a lifetime.
Oh, it is quite the role, yes.
And something else that he mentioned, which is important because this is what's happening across the federal government right now, the rebranding that USAID does to continue to fund the things they want to fund, regardless of the priorities of the actual executive branch. We've seen this with DEI personnel being given different titles to try to hide them in these agencies. Same thing happens with these spending.
Yeah, they're very effective at rebranding things. So in the first Trump administration, the priorities were support national interests, as they are now. Another thing was countering terrorism and promoting self-reliance. So I went to a country, just to give one example, they had a feminist women's book club that had been started under the Obama administration, and then they now said this is a counter-terror program because feminist women are key fighters in the battle against terrorism.
Oh, yes. There you go. You just rename it. A feminist book club becomes a counterterrorism program to comport with the stated objectives of the Trump administration. But now they're on the inside. They were sort of surface skimming at 1.0. They're on the inside in 2.0, and it's making all the difference. Something else on USAID, and it's not to say that they always present this sort of like false straw man argument that, USAID does all this good stuff. You want to cut AIDS funding, right? PEPFAR. No, we can provide that AIDS prevention funding to Africa and elsewhere. We don't need this whole $50 billion agency to do that. We don't need 4,000 people to do that. We don't need to be funding all these other things. So this is the two-step they always pull. To oppose USAID funding or to support its restructuring or to get the green eye shades guys in there to look over the books. Oh, you're jeopardizing AIDS funding. No, we're jeopardizing all of this funding of cultural Marxism and Politico subscriptions that you lard in with maybe the one or two things USAID does that have discernible value.
Well, USAID, they're with Bill Gates, and Bill Gates was on The View, I think it was yesterday, saying that millions of people, if he doesn't get their funding back, millions of people are going to die because of vaccines. Won't be produced.
My foundation partners with USAID on nutrition and getting vaccines out. And, there's incredible people. They're not actually worms that work there. So, hopefully we'll get some of that work back in shape. In fact, if we don't, you could have literally millions of deaths. So, with aid, people think, wow, how much do we give these countries? As you said, it's less than 1%. People think it's 5%, and it should be 2%, but it's actually under 1%.
Well, it's 1% of our federal budget. Actually, a little bit less even with the $6 trillion we spent last year, even though we didn't have it. But that's not the. First of all, Bill Gates Foundation's spending priorities are not beyond reproach. So you want to talk about this in some detail, Gates? I mean, not with those shrews on The View. That's pointless. But if you want to talk to it about somebody serious, then let's get under the hood and let's really talk about it. Nutrition programs, AIDS prevention. You throw these things out and we're supposed to just applaud. No, let's get into the weeds on these things. Who does what? What are the results? That sort of thing. The problem, the additional problem, though, one of the additional problems, there are many, that we have, through USAID, we're creating sort of vassal states. Talk about nation building. We're sort of doing it on the sly through USAID, even though $50 billion in the grand scheme of what the U.S. spends isn't a lot. But in terms of what it doles out to impoverished countries, it is a lot. Only 11% of U.S. aid goes directly to foreign organizations. The rest gets management via U.S. entities and multilateral organizations. So unlike, nonprofits, if you Charity Navigator rated USAID, it wouldn't be anywhere near food for the poor, I'll tell you that. There's massive overhead. Of course there is. You're funding bureaucracy. You're not funding programs. 11%, all this, we're saving millions of lives from Gates. 11% of U.S. aid goes directly to foreign organizations. Something else, though. from some people who've been looking at this. Charlie Robertson here. My data suggests USAID flows in 2024 were equivalent to 93% of Somalia's government revenues, 61% in Sudan, just over 50% in South Sudan and Yemen. That's just unsustainable that we're underwriting foreign governments at that level. That's just bad policy for all sorts of reasons. And it's funny, too. You hear all Trump's imperialism and so on and so forth. But USAID's backdoor imperialism with our money that, gets the "we will fight, we won't rest" rallying cry from Schumer and Waters and the gang. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements. Changing the world, one life at a time.
I'm 76. I had been retired for about 10 years, and at 68, I decided to go back to work. Our company had a contest, and it was a walking, steps. I ended up, by the time in the end of the 6 weeks, I was doing like 17,000 steps a day. So after the contest, I came in third. I kept hearing about Balance of Nature, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. So I did.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements today. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set. Don't wait. Now's the time to take action. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 5:38, we will tackle what I mentioned, the USAID, their role in the Trump impeachment 1.0. That's at 5:38.
Who else slid on the grass this morning? Ice everywhere, even on the grass, yes. Mike, did you make it into work okay?
Everything was fine. Roads were great.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I live in the big bad city.
Well, they treated
But once
everything.
we got to the highway, I was fine.
Yeah, everything was treated. State highways, toll roads, everything was treated. They treat that, of course, now with the mixture, the juice, the beet juice, and calcium chloride. They don't just put salt on anymore. They pre-treat those roads when there's going to be ice.
Could have used them on the grass. I've never slid on my grass before.
Yeah, there was about a quarter inch of snow and ice, and we've been telling folks about that all morning long. Watch out on your steps. Watch out on the sidewalk and your driveways. Those are the problem spots this morning. Roads are okay. We'll get to traffic in a moment. But topping our news this morning, demonstrations breaking out across the country in protest of recent actions taken by the Trump administration. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says President Trump's plan for the U.S. to take over Gaza is fine by him.
The actual idea of allowing first Gazans who want to leave. I mean, what's wrong with that? They can leave. They can then come back. They can relocate and come back. But you have to rebuild Gaza. If you want to rebuild Gaza, you can't have... this is the first good idea that I've heard. It's a remarkable idea.
Netanyahu on Fox News yesterday. Victims of last week's mid-air collision between a passenger jet and military helicopter were honored in Alexandria, Virginia, with a vigil held yesterday on the banks of the Potomac River. If you use Grubhub, you may have a problem. Grubhub suffered a data breach and some customer contact info has been compromised. The food delivery platform said overnight someone broke in through a third-party service provider. The jury in Michael Madigan's landmark corruption trial is entering its 7th day of deliberations. Jurors have been deliberating since January 29. Chicago Police Department mourning the death of an officer. The 27-year-old was found dead with a gunshot wound to her head yesterday morning near 58th and Nagel. Mayor Brandon Johnson will testify before Congress about sanctuary cities on March 5. Governor Pritzker signed the KIND Act into law yesterday.
The KIND Act enhances family finding efforts to ensure we are doing everything we can to identify relatives who can care for and maintain ongoing supportive connections with our youth.
The measure allows DCFS to develop more flexible standards to certify grandparents and other relatives who can care for youth who have been in contact with DCFS. An Illinois Democrat has introduced legislation that would prevent schools from fining students for municipal code violations. State Representative LaShawn Ford introduced House Bill 2502.
Ticketing students is considered to be bad practice because it can create significant financial burdens on families, especially those in the Black and brown communities.
One student in Springfield was ticketed for sharing homemade brownies with her classmates. The bill would prevent fines for truancy as well. Bulls lost to the Timberwolves 127-108, and they'll keep Lonzo Ball around for another 2 years. 2 years, $20 million worth of extension. Blackhawks in overtime loss to the Edmonton Oilers 4-3. Fighting Illini suffer a loss to unranked Rutgers 82-73. The news is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. What if you could save an average of 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back? With a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, it's possible. Check if you qualify. AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This week on Capitol Hill is the best way to get informed on everything going on with Congress. Hosted by Tony Perkins and the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
We cannot wait to begin this great new work. We're going to usher in a new golden age in America. That's what President Trump has been saying. That's what we've been echoing, and we really feel that that's true.
Stay informed and become a regular listener. This week on Capitol Hill. Sundays at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Wow. Are you buying or are you selling? As this is being written, silver is up more than 50% in just the past 8 months. And gold is the highest it's ever been. Whether you are just getting into the metals, want to roll your IRA into silver or gold, or want to take some profits off the table, Fox Valley Coins is ready, willing, and able to help. Even though Fox Valley Coins is a national dealer, they're family-owned and in your own backyard. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville almost always has the product you want in stock and pretty much always has the best pricing when you buy or sell. Buying or selling is easy. Bring your items in. We'll establish the price and pay you cash or check on the spot. Why wait to move your assets around? Did you know that Fox Valley Coins has sold over 3,000 one-ounce silver Donald Trump coins? We have several designs, but they're going fast. Fox Valley Coins on Route 59 in Naperville. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
If you've saved $1 million or more for retirement, you're in an elite group and should have an investment strategy to match. VestGen Wealth Partners has a team dedicated to helping build on the success that you've already created. Visit GetRetiredStayRetired.com.
Advisory services offered through VestGen Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and VestGen Advisors, LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. VestGen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Xumo Play.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee, because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com.
542 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Reagan Memorial Toll Road, I-88 westbound between Locust and I-39. Again, that's westbound. Lanes are shut down. Many accidents this morning and icy conditions. Eastbound lanes have been reopened after being closed overnight. Again, eastbound lanes on 88 open. Near Route 39, westbound lanes are closed due to multiple accidents. An earlier stall and accident along I-80 westbound between Larkin and before Humboldt. Now out of your way, but still big delays remain in that area. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Breezy with decreasing clouds, a high near 40 in the afternoon. Breezy, clear to partly cloudy, a low of 19 overnight. Still a bit of freezing drizzle in the forecast for O'Hare and Midway. Everywhere else cloudy, and there are some school delays for many different community school districts in Northwest Indiana. Combination of fog and very slippery conditions. Check your local resources for any updated information. Your next news is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy were talking about USAID, given the contretemps over the Doge boys, Musk and company, getting their hands on it and starting to bring public where the spending is going and act in furtherance of stopping it. The frivolities, the Marxist frivolities we've talked a bit about, they're getting a lot of play because they're so absurd. I get it. But it's the real interests at stake for the left that are more important. The reaction was so immediate and so over the top. You had to wonder what is it? What is it that so animates them? We must be really striking at a vulnerability here. And it turns out that censorship, industrial complex funding for the training up of decarceration, non-prosecution prosecutors, the Kim Foxes of the world, to run them around the country in big cities and run those big cities into the ground. Those are big interests. Here's another one. Trump's impeachment. Trump impeachment 1.0 in term 1.0 over Ukraine. Michael Schellenberger and Alex Gutentag have the story over at Schellenberger's outlet called public.news. If you're interested, you should check it out. It's worth watching what Schellenberger's doing. He's been doing a lot of good reporting over the last several years. One of the Twitter Files reporters, you'll recall. So the Trump impeachment 1.0, if you recall, kind of get back into your you have to go back into your memory banks a bit, was greatly facilitated by a CIA analyst acting as a whistleblower. That's a CIA analyst that was first brought into the White House by the Obama administration. The analyst relied on reporting about Trump on a phone call directing Zelensky to work with Giuliani to investigate Biden and Hunter and withholding aid to Ukraine as the stick to prompt Zelensky to investigate Biden Inc. That was the story, remember? Well, that story, the whistleblower outlined in his complaint, was predicated on a allegedly independent investigative news organization called the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, the OCCRP for those scoring at home. And the OCCRP, it turns out, as Schellenberger reports, was effectively an arm of, say it with me, USAID. The CIA whistleblower complaint cited a report by OCCRP 4 times in his complaint. The OCCRP report had the whole story. Well, the whole basis of a story that could be turned into a complaint by a political operative in CIA. The OCRP alleged 2 Soviet-born Florida businessmen were key hidden actors behind a plan by Trump to investigate Biden's. Those 2 businessmen connected Giuliani to 2 former Ukrainian prosecutors. This is the OCCPR story. And this is what the Democrats picked up and ran with. In a documentary in 2024 by a German broadcaster, USAID official confirmed that USAID approves the OCCRP's annual work plan and approves new hires of key personnel. They were doing this documentary, and this German broadcaster was getting some perhaps sensitive information about how this all works, starting to put the puzzle pieces together. And then Drew Sullivan, who's the co-founder and head of the OCCRP, put pressure on that German broadcaster's management to spike the documentary. And then they lied about it. Why? The OCCRP's original funding, reports Schellenberger, came from the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs of the State Department. And quotes a USAID aid official who says that Drew Sullivan, the founder, was nervous about being linked with law enforcement. They didn't want, but the point here is that OCCRP is not investigative journalism. Its goals include regime change, actually. And here's a Drew Sullivan outtake talking about exactly that.
We've probably been responsible for about 5 or 6 countries changing over from one government to another government, because and getting, and people, prime ministers indicted or thrown out.
Right. So you're getting taxpayer dollars to act as a investigative journalistic outlet for the purpose of affecting USAID objectives, particular presidential regimes' objectives, regime change. And of course, this necessarily includes the CIA, because you have that CIA analyst who, if I'm recalling correctly, had a connection to Schumer and Schiff, was talking to Schiff and was a former Schumer staffer. I think I'm recalling that correctly. So CIA, USAID, and OCCRP, funded by USAID, were instrumental in cooking up the impeachment of a president. We financed the impeachment of Trump.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on that line.
And here's Schellenberger's summation on this.
As such, it appears that the CIA, USAID, and OCCRP were all involved in the impeachment of President Trump in ways similar to the regime change operations that all 3 organizations engage in abroad. The difference here is that it is highly illegal and even treasonous for CIA, USAID, and its contractors and intermediaries, often called cutouts, to interfere in U.S. politics in this way.
Calling Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi, please pick up the courtesy phone. Craig in Mount Greenwood, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. Hey, thank you so much for taking my call, because this topic, it's unbelievable. When I was listening to this stuff going on and all that, the thing that comes clear is this is like this is the muscle. This SAID.
Craig, hold on, Craig. We got a call.
We got him on the Munchkin.
If we got the Munchkin line, that's not even working properly. Then don't take phone calls on the Munchkin line. Craig, call back if you'd like, and we're happy to hear from you. On this USAID matter, boy, this little $50 billion agency, it's just 1% of the federal budget. We hear it's focused on AIDS prevention, and it's focused on nutrition programs, and it's got the stamp of approval from Bill Gates. Isn't this all hunky-dory? And then you start scratching below the surface, as Doge has done, and look what you find, these interconnections. And this is not theorizing. This is following the money. And this is the work of real investigative journalists like Schellenberger and others. But it's not that hard to follow as long as somebody provides the map. Mike in Union, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Well, the minute you mentioned Senator Schumer having contact with this organization, immediately I thought of Benjamin Netanyahu being indicted and trying to be overthrown. I bet you'll find out he's on that list. Thanks.
Thanks for the call, Mike. Working with the ICC to try BB as a war criminal. Yeah, who knows? We're not even a member to the ICC treaty, International Criminal Court, but that doesn't mean that we're not funding it. Because these people over at USAID, they're running their own program, and they're not answerable to anybody.
No,
they think.
But they've been caught. Let's just say that.
Jerry, Milwaukee.
Yeah, good morning. I am so sick and tired of these arguments by these elites that all these items at USAID are just so small, and they just represent such a small percentage of the budget. That it may be small to these elites, but to us, the American taxpayer, it's a lot of our money.
Yeah.
And that only begs the question then, okay, well, let's go after the big stuff. Let's go after Medicare. Let's go after Social Security. Let's go after all these. And then you would really hear a hue and cry about it. So what do we do?
Thanks for the call, Jerry. Well, I think you do both. And how you handle the small stuff is indicative of how you handle the big stuff often. We've gone through this with Mitch Daniels, former governor of Indiana, before. Small things don't matter. Sure they do, because it's about culture. And one of the things that Daniels did when he was first elected governor of Indiana was he went around to all the fleets of state cars.
Oh, that's right.
And he put quarters on the tires. He came back 6 months later. Whatever cars still had the quarter on the tire, well, they weren't used, so we don't need them. So we got rid of them. We sold them.
Yeah.
And so it's just about that's the small things, $50 billion, which is not a small thing. It's just the federal budget is such a massive thing, but it is a small thing. But how judicious you are with that money is indicative of how judicious and accountable people are with bigger budgets. So it absolutely matters. And what you're seeing with Doge starting, what you thought would be starting small based on the numbers, but in terms of what was going on with the monies that USAID did have, turns out to be quite a big thing. That's the other story, too. It doesn't necessarily take hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars to engage in all kinds of very impactful skullduggery, does it? Mike in Hammond.
Hey, Dan, thanks for taking my call. You hit it on the head. Musk is just starting to scratch the surface of this thing. What do you think the rest of these agencies are going to go through? That's why they're all in war.
for.
Oh, I know.
I'm waiting for
Wait till the Pentagon.
forensic accountants to be involved in all of this. The 2 whistleblowers, all of this has got to. I mean, imagine what's going to be dug up. I'm actually excited about seeing what's going to happen.
Oh my gosh!
Thanks for the call, Mike.
Listen to this, Dan. March 2023, USAID set aside up to $1 million to help disabled people in Pakistan become climate leaders.
Mm-hmm. Right. All the Marxist frivolities in addition to the big stuff. Sean, Northwest Side.
You know, the way people are defending USAID is the same way I would defend my purchases on OnlyFans. It's going to a good cause. You know, it's helping the lady on the other end.
And it's just a small percentage of your disposable income, right?
Exactly. It's just a small percent. It doesn't hurt anybody.
It's like Martha Raddatz saying, it's just 2 apartment complexes.
Yeah.
It's just that. No, it's our money, and we're finally figuring out how they're spending it. I just want to know, why didn't he tackle this the first time he was in office?
Jim in Warrenville.
Good morning. You know, the Leviathan is starting to circle the wagons. They have NPRs out with their reporting, and of course, all the dollars that USAID spends, they're feeding the hungry and the poor. They're rebuilding villages. They're providing water for people. There was nothing in any of the NPR articles that I've looked at the last couple of days that have said anything about all the outrageous expenditures that they've had. So
yeah, of course not, because NPR's on the dole.
Yeah,
of
they're
course.
part of it.
What are they going to do? Start pointing fingers about people getting state money? I mean, thanks for the call, Jim. It's exactly the point. And why didn't Trump do this the first time around? Because he didn't know what he didn't know. And you need personnel to do this. This isn't a one-man job. No. You need people that are ready to go on day one, who have specifically defined missions, roles, and responsibilities. Talent would help too, smarts. And he has, this time around, his own personal knowledge, his own personal learned experience, and a lot more talent around him ready to go than he did with Trump 1.0. Joe in Arlington Heights.
Hey, good morning. What's really, number one, I'm not surprised that there's this much skullduggery. But when you hear the actual details, like trying to line up the impeachment of Trump 1.0, what breaks my heart more than anything is I grew up believing in America to be patriotic and that we held a moral high ground. Well, guess what? We, through our government, are far from it. We're rotten to the core.
Well, thanks for the call, Joe. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer. Coming up at 6:06, we'll turn our attention to another aspect of the flurry of activity in the first few weeks of Trump 2.0. And that's the executive order banning men from playing women's sports, 6:06.
But first, let's head into the newsroom. Busy day. Here's Mike Scott.
Freezing rain in the forecast. Drive with care. Be careful going down the steps this morning. CPD mourning the death of a police officer. Brandon Johnson says, yes, he will testify before Congress. Kankakee man sentenced to 45 years for murder. Bulls lose a roller coaster against the Timberwolves. Blackhawks salvage a point against Edmonton. And the Illini stub their toe on Rutgers. WIND Chicago News Time is 6 o'clock.
They have to decide by today. I'm Dave Anthony. Fox News is the deadline for federal workers to accept President Trump's buyout offers to resign.
There's 40,000 workers that have accepted that buyout. That represents about 2% of the federal workforce. And the Office of Personnel Management says workers who opt for the buyout will get paid through September without working. Some of the unions and attorneys say the offer isn't guaranteed. When the buyout offers was announced last week, it was expected that 5 to 10% of the federal employees would accept it, leading to $100 billion in annual savings.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson at the White House. Now, the Democratic anger over Elon Musk's Department of Government efficiency is growing.
What Elon Musk is doing is illegal. It is a coup.
Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs in a big protest in D.C. demanding must be stopped. A lawsuit filed against Doge has led the Justice Department to work out an agreement limiting Musk's access to some financial data within the Treasury Department. There's a new Trump transgender order aiming to bar athletes born male from competing in female sports.
We're putting every school receiving taxpayer dollars on notice that if you let men take over women's sports teams or invade your locker rooms, you will be investigated for violations of Title IX and risk your federal funding.
Next hour, the president will attend the National Prayer Breakfast. And there's a new Trump Truth Social post writing that Gaza would be turned over to the U.S. by Israel when the fighting ends, as a ceasefire with Hamas still holds. Now, there's pushback throughout the Middle East opposing the Trump plan to rebuild Gaza. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tells Fox,
"This is the first good idea that I've heard. It's a remarkable idea."
This is Israel urges Palestinians in Gaza to voluntarily leave. Another country joining El Salvador, agreeing to accept illegal immigrants.
Guatemala says it'll accept migrants from other countries who are being deported from the United States. President Bernardo Arevalo says the detainees would eventually be returned to their home countries at U.S. expense.
Jonathan Savage, America's listening to Fox.
30 degrees, 6:02 is our time on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Drivers remain cautious, but pedestrians take even more care. It's the sidewalks and steps that are coated after about a quarter inch of freezing rain and ice overnight on those area roadways, along with the sidewalks and steps. Jury in Michael Madigan's landmark corruption trial enters day 7 of deliberations. Chicago Police Department is mourning the death of an officer. 27-year-old was found dead with a gunshot wound to her head yesterday morning near 58th Street and Nagel. Mayor Brandon Johnson will testify before Congress about sanctuary cities. Johnson will be participating in the GOP-led House Oversight and Government Reform Committee hearing on March 5. A Joliet man is charged in a road rage shooting on the Dan Ryan. State police say Kenneth Curry reportedly fired a weapon at the victim's vehicle, which was hit multiple times along the Dan Ryan in 2023 near 120th Street. No injuries were reported. Governor Pritzker signing the KIND Act into law yesterday. The measure allows the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services to develop more flexible standards to certify grandparents and other relatives who can safely care for youth in DCFS care. Violent crime numbers were on the rise across Chicago in 2024, even as arrests began to trickle down. Aggravated battery cases jumped 3.1%, the largest percentage increase for a violent crime category. GOP State Senator Steve McClure is demanding that authorities take action.
You've got some people that are in very dangerous situations, domestic violence situations, and other situations that do not feel like they can go to get help, because if they do, the laws do not really protect them the way that they should.
4 out of 5 aggravated batteries are taking place either on Chicago's south or west sides. McClure adds he would like to see certain laws in the state, like the Safety Act, changed to give judges more leeway. Bulls lost to the Timberwolves 127-108. Bulls keeping Lonzo Ball around for 2 more years at $20 million. The number 23 Fighting Illini likely to fall out of the top 25 after a loss to unranked Rutgers 82-73, and the Blackhawks lost to Edmonton 4-3. The news service, a Balance of Nature fruits and veggies in a capsule. Order online at balanceofnature.com. Coupon code Chicago to save 35%. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Are you ready for it? The biggest game of the year is almost here. Will the reigning champs shake it off and defend their title? Or will the birds from Philly write their own love story? and fly to victory. This showdown is the one you won't want to miss. Predict the exact score of the big game, and you could win $50,000 big dollars. For terms and conditions and to submit your prediction today, go to 560theanswer.com/game. That's 560theanswer.com/game.
MyPillow is excited to announce that they're having the first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 30% on their brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one Mike has worn every day for 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get the 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. The initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And the best-selling standard My Pillow, just $14.98. To take advantage of the first ever mega sale, go to mypillow.com or call 800-489-0201. That's 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship has sailed because right now every order ships absolutely free. mypillow.com, promo code LIBERTY.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Police Sergeant Christopher David Fitzgerald of the Temple University Police Department sustained fatal gunshot wounds while attempting to arrest a robbery suspect. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation provided a mortgage-free home to his wife and their 5 children in honor of their forever hero. Christopher was a great father, husband, brother, and son who is so very missed. Heroes like Christopher protect and serve our communities and our nation. Show your support. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
My debt problem started probably about 2016. I needed my life to change financially. I called Trinity, and I ended up joining based on high credit card bills and high interest rate. And my counselor at Trinity has been great, and Trinity has been helping me to get on the right path of paying off these credit card bills, bringing down the interest rate. They have consolidated my bills into one low monthly payment. And now I am finally getting out of credit card debt. So I just want to say thank you, Trinity, for showing me a better and greater path.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Sharon, and soon I will be debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
6:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this look at the travel times. The service of Valdecas Windows, looking for high quality, professional level window replacement service. Contact Valdecas Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Valdecas.com. Better news on the Reagan I-88. If you're traveling westbound out near I-39, it's been completely reopened after being shut down overnight due to slippery conditions and multiple accidents. Traveling on the tri-state northbound, you're slowing up between the Reagan and the Ike this morning, and slowdowns on the Stevenson inbound, especially between Ashland and the Dan Ryan. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Decreasing cloudiness. It'll be a breezy day. High today 40. Breezy this evening. Clear to partly cloudy tonight. Low 19. Partly sunny for tomorrow. The high 32. Sleet and freezing rain on Saturday. The high at 35. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
30 in clouds. Your next news update 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. President Trump, President again Trump, having a little confab. I saw Riley Gaines in attendance. I think Jennifer Say was there.
Jen was there, a good friend. She had on her XXXY t-shirt. Yep.
The occasion was banning dudes from playing women's sports. Here was Trump providing some run-up to the announcement.
Female athletes have been forced onto the front lines, and men claiming to be girls have stolen more than 3,500 victories. That's a lot. And invaded more than 11,000 competitions designed for women. Last year, a male cyclist posing as a woman competed in the 800-mile Arizona Trail Race, a very big deal in cycling, and obliterated the women's course record by nearly 5.5 hours. Sounds like a lot, doesn't it, huh? 5.5 hours. So, but you have to hear the weightlifting records. You think that's bad. The weightlifting's worse. In 2023, a man in women's powerlifting broke 2 world records and outlifted his closest female opponent in one event by 440 pounds. And who could forget last year's Paris Olympics, where a male boxer stole the women's gold medal after brutalizing his female opponent so viciously that she had to forfeit just after 46 seconds, and she was a championship fighter. And actually, they had 2 women or 2 people that transitioned, and both of them won gold medals, and they won them very convincingly. But all of that ends today because with this executive order, the war on women's sports is over.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
I don't think the left's going to get in line on this. I think there's certain schools, CPS schools, other schools in the country where they have their players in place, and I don't think but if they don't get rid of them or kick them off the team, are they going to withhold funding from them?
That's exactly what they're going to do. What this executive order provides is for agencies, including Department of Justice, including Department of Education, to align Title IX funding with that executive order. So you don't comply, you don't get no federal money. And a CPS, about 10% of the budget is federal dollars. And CPS is having problems paying their bills right now, as per usual. And CPS is on the cusp of a potential teacher strike. So you want to cut off 10% of your funding too? Well, fine, find it locally then. Maybe Pritzker will make up the difference. Oh yeah. So that's the stick that they have. It's not just a virtue signaling executive order. There's funding that's attached. Just the same way Pam Bondi announced a 60-day freeze on Department of Justice funding for sanctuary cities. Now, again, Chicago doesn't get a lot, and Chicago and Illinois don't get a lot of DOJ grant funding, a lot, in the grand scheme of things. But, it's probably DOJ grant funding to state and local law enforcement, probably in the tens of millions of dollars for a big state like Illinois. So it's material. You don't want it? Fine. Go your own way. But you go your own way, you pay your own way. How's that?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on that same line.
ESPN reported it this way, or MS ESPN. It's more widely known in conservative circles. President Donald Trump will sign an executive order Wednesday designed to prevent people who were biologically assigned male at birth from participating in women's sports. People who were biologically assigned male at birth, this whole Orwellian nomenclature surrounding trans, not assigned, so unless you want to say assigned by God, but they mean assigned by man, right? So doctors don't assign children their sex. No. They acknowledge their sex. They acknowledge the biological reality of the little boy or little girl in the delivery room. That's it. But it gives you a little idea where ESPN still is. Stephen Smith's, mea culpas about supporting Kamala and how upset he is with the Democrat Party and
he
so
might
on
run
and so
for president.
forth. Yeah, please. I'm waiting to hear that ESPN gets USAID funding. That'll be the next thing. Corey and Woodlawn, you're in Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, guys. What I really want to know is how much of this mislabeling or labeling in the budget is actually appropriated for something else. I know they're targeting sexuality and feminism, but I wonder if they're just using that as a means to use that money for something else. Thanks, guys.
Well, yeah, thanks for the call, Corey. Well, it's like we talked about with USAID. We're funding a feminist book club in Burundi. Well, we're not going to do that anymore. We're only going to fund counterterrorism initiatives in Burundi, let's say. Okay, well, we're just going to call this a counterterrorism initiative now because feminists are important on the front lines of fighting Islamist terrorism. See how they do it? I mean, so Corey's right. The devil is always in the detailed enforcement of the policy and not letting the forever bureaucracy just sort of paper over what it's doing with new labels. Absolutely, that's an issue. By the way, this speaking of labels, poor Jim Comer got in the middle of another scrape here in the House Oversight Committee.
What now?
Jerry Connolly, who is P-hat from Virginia, and Nancy Mace, who is South Carolina. She was one of the ones that got into the last contretemps with AOC and Jasmine Crockett and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Well, there's another one because they're talking, Nancy Mace sponsored legislation to ban men from women's bathrooms and also to, what was the other thing that she did with respect to sexual criminals? I think it was mainly focused on
bathrooms
women,
in the Capitol.
Bathrooms and women's spaces, right? So they're debating more of this matter. Nancy Mace has taken this up as a cause celeb. And then this happened.
The gentlelady has used a phrase that is considered a slur in the LGBTQ community and the transgender community. And let me please finish without interruption. And
Tranny. I don't really care. You want penises in women's bathrooms, and I'm not going to have it.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Let the gentleman state his parliamentary inquiry.
To me, a slur is a slur, and here in the committee, a level of decorum requires us to try consciously to avoid slurs. You just heard the gentlelady actually actively, robustly repeat it, and I would just ask the chairman that she be counseled that we ought not to be engaged. We can have debate and policy discussion without offending human beings who are our fellow citizens. And so I would ask, as a parliamentary inquiry, whether the use of that phrase is not, in fact, a violation of the decorum rules.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to be counseled by a man over men in women's spaces or men who have mental health issues dressing as women. I'm not being counseled by some guy.
My inquiry is to the chairman,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Order. The inquiry is about decorum. Decorum is at the discretion of the chair.
That's
I will be
mansplaining,
honest,
Mr. Chairman.
with the ranking member. I'm not up to date on my politically correct LGBTQ terminology. We'll look into that and get back with you on that. I don't know what's offensive.
A what now?
Yeah, right. The what? So yeah. So that's.
I want to play that right again of those two ladies fighting.
And by the way, Jerry Connolly. Part of half the reason to bring this to your attention is just because this phony civility, decorum. Jerry Connolly. Hey, look, we can have a debate without insulting our fellow human beings, right? Jerry Connolly. Kash Patel is a zealot. Out of a sea of unqualified, dangerous, and downright bizarre nominations, this is perhaps the worst. Is that maintaining decorum? Is that substantive? Is that treating our fellow human being with respect and dignity, even if we disagree with them? They're such phonies.
I know.
So just all this politics of civility. The people that preen the most about civility are almost, to a person, the most uncivil in their personal conduct. When he wasn't railing against Kash Patel as a zealot, Jerry Conley was out with all those other Marxist rabble-rousers belly-aching about Musk and USAID funding and saying this.
And if you want to change it, you got to change that law. It is a matter of statute. It's a matter for Congress to deal with, not an unelected billionaire oligarch named Elon Musk.
Oh, I mean, oligarch. That's not very. It's not very
I'm not in my
friendly.
safe space now. Yeah.
John in Portage Park, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah. Good morning. I wondered if I could chest feed my new grandson at the airport. One of Tammy Duckworth's
nursing pods.
Milking stations.
Yeah.
It's a nursing pod.
Please don't, John. That reminds me, French gynecologist has been barred from practicing for a month because he refused to examine a transgender patient. A tranny, as Nancy Mason may say.
What? I had no idea that the word tranny was offensive.
Or transvestite? Is that offensive?
Well, I know.
I mean, that's
tranny,
just accurate. That's what it is. But yeah, the French gynecologist could have easily skirted around this, pun intended. You know, a guy comes in to the gynecologist's office and says, I want a checkup, and all right, drop your pants. All the gynecologist has to do is say, your penis looks good, you can go. Next. Right?
Right. I mean, that's all you have to do.
Joe in Hoffman Estates.
Quick visit.
Hey, good morning, guys. Why do you think Brandon Johnson, because I can't figure it out, is fighting for illegals when it's the consensus really don't want it? It's just going to cost him his job. What does he have to gain?
He needs to keep people in the city. People are leaving.
We'll get to that when we're talking about immigration, not talking about French gynecologists and men and women's sports and Jim Comer's understanding of the what is and what is not a LGBTQIA2S plus slur. Craig in Mount Greenwood.
Oh, hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, I just have to, before I give you my point, on that thing with that guy running or going to the doctor and everything for a gynecological checkup, why didn't she or he just say, hey, you got a very nasty growth or tumor there. We're going to have to cut that thing off.
Yeah, right.
I should take care of him with a pair of scissors.
Right.
Anyway,
this is the worst looking vajayjay I've ever seen.
What have you done to yourself? I told you to watch that thing 3 times a day.
Nurse, get in here.
Stat.
Boy.
That's a very large wart you have, sir. I mean, ma'am.
Yes. But just on the trans front, if you will. Is that an offensive term? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
The hue and cry is continuing too. I mean, all things here. Children's Hospital LA stopping hormonal therapy for trans patients under 19. Of course, we had the protests out at NYU Langone Hospital this week. Chloe Cole, who's a detransitioner, tweeting out about this. One of the worst gender clinics in the entire world just stopped giving hormones to minors. Right. Culture change. Culture change was going on. Good. This was Cynthia Nixon, by the way. You remember her from that show about 3 prostitutes and their mother. What was it called again?
Sex in the City.
Yeah. Cynthia Nixon. Redhead. Cynthia Nixon was out with those protesters, like the one calling for revolution. Remember this one? Revolution? What does revolution have to do with quote-unquote gender-affirming care? That should be a question that is piqued by these comments.
Shut this entire city down! Not on our watch. Because what they will try to do, they will try to separate us. They will kick the trans people off the bus. They're kicking the indigenous people off the bus. They're kicking our intersex community off the bus. Our 2-sphere plus family, they're kicking them off the bus. They just want a membership LGBT bus. Well, guess what, babe? That LGBT bus, it's not going to have any gas. It won't have any tires. Y'all not going any far. Because we are a community that is made and has been woven with the fire and the spirit of revolution. Revolution! Revolution!
Okay, buddy, calm down. Yeah, then he had to get off to his gynecologist's appointment. Anyway, revolution, and then you have to include indigenous people and all. Yeah. Right, because this is cultural Marxism. They aim to destroy the foundations of America. That's what this is really fundamentally about. The Trump protesters, I know this is very much muted as compared to his Trump 1.0, but the attitude hasn't changed. And this again represents, if you don't want to believe it and you're a Democrat, you don't want to believe this represents the base of your party, you can believe what you want. But the base of your party, the power structure in your party, as you saw at the DNC elections this weekend, is beholden to these people.
That's who you need to reach first. Clean up your own backyard. Clean up your own backyard. Clean up your own family. Clean up your own family. Whether it's homophobia. Whether it's homophobia. Religion. Religion. Racism. Racism. Anti-immigrant sentiment. Anti-immigrant sentiment. They are your family and so are we. They are your family and so are we. Let's.
No, you're not my family. But that's the angle. They make it very straightforward. I know there's people have, with all sorts of reasons, they choose to be willfully blind about this. But, I mean, they're very direct. You just have to listen to them. And don't dismiss, oh, they're crazy or that. Yeah, I mean, some of them are, and they're just joiners. I get it. But fundamentally, there's nothing crazy about the political philosophy that undergirds these identitarians. It's just dangerous if you want to live in a free society. Cynthia Nixon, by the way, going back to the NYU Langone Hospital protest, Cynthia Nixon. Listen to this. Apparently everyone, about 90% of the people in Cynthia Nixon's life are trans.
Most importantly, I am here today as the mother of a proud trans man. I am here today as the aunt of a proud trans man. My best friend's kid is trans, and my kid's best friend is trans. My wife and I, our lives are filled with the most amazing, beautiful, brave trans people, young and old, but especially young.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they are. Cynthia Nixon, I mean, the obvious statement about the odds of all of those people in her life being trans and the social contagion aspect of this. But thinking about Trump's executive order yesterday, boy, how far they got in a short amount of time. That the only thing standing between this lunacy and a return to a basic understanding of biology and human interaction and opportunity was Donald Trump's election to be president of the United States.
All Americans are getting what they voted for. This was a big issue for a lot of us.
Yeah, they were getting what they voted for a long time before Trump, too. That's the problem. David in Racine, Wisconsin.
Greetings and salutations. Yes, in the movie Armageddon, the term tranny was the slang term for the transmissions used on the oil or the drilling rig on the for the movie. But
yeah.
But then it was later co-opted by the LPGA community.
I got a funny.
Is the LPGA community, is that a slur for the LGBTQIA? Maybe.
Text message, Dan and Amy, I can remember when the statement, "I blew a tranny last night on Irving," meant you had car trouble.
Hi-oh, Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll talk Doge and tariffs and the federal workforce with George Mason University economist Don Buro, 636.
But first, let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
6:32, 30 degrees, and today's the deadline for federal workers to accept the Trump administration offer to pay them through September if they agree to resign this month. Reports indicate as many as 40,000 federal employees have accepted that deal. Federal judge is blocking President Trump's attempt to restrict birthright citizenship. A Maryland district judge heard arguments Wednesday related to a request to put a preliminary injunction in place nationally, blocking the EO. The victims of last week's mid-air collision between an airliner and a military helicopter are being remembered in Alexandria, Virginia. On the bank of the Potomac River, Virginia Congressman Don Buro.
1 week ago, the whole nation turned its eyes to this riverfront, to the place we call home. And it's been really difficult to comprehend that our home could also be the place of such sorrow.
67 people died. President Donald Trump celebrating National Girls and Women in Sports Day by signing an executive order banning biological men from participating in female sports. The president saying the order would apply to public K through 12 schools and nearly all colleges and universities.
With my action this afternoon, we're putting every school receiving taxpayer dollars on notice that if you let men take over women's sports teams or invade your locker rooms, you will be investigated for violations of Title IX and risk your federal funding. There will be no federal funding.
Chicago Teachers Union this morning says an independent arbitrator found that Chicago public school officials have more money to offer in contract negotiations than they're letting on, representing an unexpectedly positive outcome for the union. But the CTU is saying they will reject the neutral fact finder's report because they believe it fell short in other areas. CTU leaders did call it the most favorable report the union has received in about 15 years. Mayor Brandon Johnson has rescinded a COVID-era mandate that forced city employees to get vaccinated against the virus known as COVID-19. A move that is now fueling demands for back pay and reinstatement for those who defied the mandate. The FOP led the charge against the mandate that was imposed in 2021 by then-Mayor Lori Lightfoot. Bulls lost to the Timberwolves, 127-108. Blackhawks lost to Edmonton in overtime, 4-3. Fighting Illini in Big Ten hoops, drop one to unranked Rutgers, 82-73. DePaul lost to Villanova. Bradley edged by Belmont. Illinois State snuck past UIC in the Valley. The news, a service of almostfreeteeth.com. What if you could save an average of 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back? With the Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, it's possible. Check if you qualify. Almostfreeteeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This Valentine's Day, you can say, I love you to that special someone.
Just one kiss from your sweet lips will tell.
In the form of $2,000 if you win our Cash for Couples contest.
I love you so much.
Enter today at 560theanswer.com/love. That's 560theanswer.com/love.
Hi, AM 560 family. It's Tom Sadeka, founder and CEO of Freedom Chamber, the pro-American business network. I'm reaching out to my fellow patriot business owners and entrepreneurs. Please join us at freedomchamber.net, along with our co-founders, Job Creators Network, Salem Media, Epoch Times, Patriot Mobile, Old Glory Bank, and other patriotic businesses. We have built this community to unite us to thrive and restore the American dream. Join us and take advantage of great information and intel from our key advisors. Exclusive savings for business services, tech, marketing, and advertising. Find a new client or vendor in our growing network. The latest news, our members now have exclusive access to group health plans and cost containment solutions that save big dollars and improve care. And now with a big voice in DC, together we can impact American small business together for the better. Please join us at freedomchamber.net.
My name is Dr. Joe Mealy. I've been a dentist for 56 years, and I'm a certified nutritional consultant. I started taking Balance of Nature 15 years ago. I think most people think when they eat fruits and vegetables, this is their idea of fruits and vegetables. I had an apple today. I had a pear today. I had a banana. That's their fruits and vegetables. They don't understand that each one of those fruits and vegetables has different nutrients than the others. Balance of Nature has made a significant difference in my life, in my wife's life. I feel we're on this earth to help each other. And if other people can benefit from my experience, I think that would be one of the best ways I could justify still being here at 81.
Go to balanceofnature.com and get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping as a new preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
6:39, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Audible. Why not tap into your well-being with Audible audiobooks, better health, relationships, finance? Start free, a 30-day trial at audible.com. The Kennedy at 30 minutes, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike outbound on the brakes, Laramie to Harlem. Dan Ryan in 25 to the Circle. Tri-State stop-and-go traffic northbound between the Reagan and the Ike. Long Grove accident with injuries, Route 83. at Hilltop Road. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. A breezy day ahead, decreasing clouds, high near 40. Breezy, clear to partly cloudy, and a low of 19 overnight. Cloudy and 30 right now. Next news coming up at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Our next guest, a friend of the show, Don Buro, penned a piece shortly after the election with former Texas Senator Phil Gramm, warning about Trump's tariffs, warning Trump about his tariffs, and I suppose trying to persuade him that tariffs are not the most beautiful word in the English language. But I wonder what a free market kind of guy like Don thinks about Trump using tariffs as leverage. The specific performance he got immediately from both Canada and Mexico when the threat of a 25% tariff was imposed on both of them. Now, I know there's some pushback with respect to some of the demands Trump made. For example, yes, Mexico is dispatched some 10,000 military to the border to provide additional security on their side of our southern border. But the foreign minister said, well, you're not going to, your deportations, you're not going to send Mexican nationals to Gitmo. Like, well, yeah, actually, we're going to do that if they pose public safety threats and unless you want to take them back. But if there's any pushback in taking them back, then that's why we're standing up that capacity at Gitmo. But it's just then the same thing with Canada. A lot of hue and cry, but ultimately, if Trump is able to use tariffs to get advancements for our national security interests, and perhaps even the reduction of trade barriers, more open markets in protectionist countries like Canada for U.S. Producers in a variety of sectors, then won't he have orchestrated a nice little piece of jujitsu? All the concerns about retaliatory tariffs dissipate into the net result. Well, let's ask a free market guy like Don Buro, because we happen to have him.
I couldn't disagree more.
Oh, well, all right. Hold on. I got to introduce you. Don Buro is an economist, author, professor, co-director of the program on the American economy and globalization at the Mercatus Center at George Mason University. You can also catch his musings at Cafe Hayek, which is a good blog if you're interested in matters economic. Don, all right, go.
I'm sorry. I jumped the gun there.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, there is some, as you alluded to, there's some question about just how much Trump got in exchange for his tariff threats. As for using tariff threats to make trade between Canada and the U.S. and Mexico and U.S. freer, it's already pretty free. The USMCA, under that agreement, we already have largely open markets amongst us. There's hardly anything on that front to gain.
Well, there's pretty severe quotas, and then tariffs once those quotas are exceeded, in like the dairy sector, for example, with respect to the Canadians.
So another point would be, first of all, I just think it's bad form to unilaterally violate a treaty. You know, it makes us look bad. You mentioned Phil Gramm. I've done a lot of work with him. I mean, he's certainly not a bomb throwing radical, and he says it just makes us look bad. You know, that we just unilaterally ignore treaty obligations. And not only is it bad for obvious reasons, it's just a violation of our word. It is it's bad for long-term investment. So we enter into an agreement, and then if the policy seems to be, well, we can violate that agreement whenever we see fit because we want Canada or Mexico to change some particular policy that they're doing, then that makes investment both in the U.S. and in Canada and Mexico less certain. That makes it more dangerous because you don't know if you're an investor and you're setting up a plant here because that, in Mexico or Canada, U.S., because that's where the lowest cost production is going to take place, and you plan to, ship or receive outputs or inputs from elsewhere. You don't know what the policy is going to be going forward. The uncertainty that this kind of jujitsu, as you call it, imposes on the economy is really bad in the long run. So I think it's just a terrible, terrible policy, and it's all combined with, you allude to this too a bit, it's all combined with Trump is just incoherent on trade. So sometimes tariffs are necessary to bring back U.S. manufacturing, to reduce the trade deficit, to get other countries to reduce their subsidies. All of which might be good, but then if they're good on their face for bringing back manufacturing, then we should just impose them anyway and not care about what other countries do. Trump just seems to like tariffs, and the impression I get is that he's just constantly grabbing for whatever excuse happens to be on hand at the moment, and says this is the reason I'm imposing tariffs. I just
200,000 people died from fentanyl overdose, mostly accidental.
43 pounds of fentanyl came in from Canada last year. I mean, that's just ridiculous. There's no way that the restrictions on threats and restrictions in Canada is going to do anything to reduce fentanyl overdoses. Fentanyl overdoses, these are ultimately a product of high U.S. demand for this stuff. The drug war has been going on for decades. The idea that threatening tariffs is somehow going to be a major a benefit to America in making advances in the drug war, I just think is unrealistic, and I just don't buy it.
Well,
it just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I mean, if you devote more resources to border security, I mean, you're not going to eliminate it. There's never going to be 100%, but you can further minimize the incursion of people in this country illegally, as well as illegal drugs entering this country.
But surely accusing Canada of being a major source of saying that part of the justification for the threats of tariffs on Canada is the fentanyl when an imperceptible amount.
No. But I mean,
that shows the incoherence of the policy.
But that's not the argument. The argument is border security writ large, and that includes human trafficking and drug trafficking and people on the terrorist watch list, more of whom entered from our northern border than our southern border in the last 12 months. So, I mean, it's a border security argument that he's making overall. And my point to you, I mean, I agree with your point about the uncertainty it creates, particularly for investment, although, just because of the even worse policies of every other country in the world, not named Argentina at present, America is still a magnet for global capital. But part of the more pragmatic argument, even if you are not a fan of tariffs, and I'm not, is you have exigent circumstances. And I need to get compliance from our northern and southern neighbors right now if I am going to secure the borders, if we're going to stop all of these societal ills that have been associated with open borders. And so I'm sort of going beyond the treaty, the USMCA, as you said, and I'm creating uncertainty. But we have to do something now, and we need Canada and Mexico to be constructive partners in that.
So I agree with a lot of that. I think the best way to make them constructive partners is not to unilaterally violate a treaty that he himself entered into. Deal with these issues separately. These are not trade issues. and to just yank at trade and say, we're going to use this and that, and that's going to bring about this outcome. I just think that's unrealistic, and it's counterproductive. Deal with these issues in separate kind of treaty negotiations, separate kind of negotiations. Don't threaten them with a unilateral violation of an agreement that he himself entered into just a few years ago, and think that is a way to build constructive, productive relationships with our southern and northern neighbors.
I know we've talked about this before, but since it's included in the first round of talking about the Chinese Communist Party, your perspective there, because that presents another, layering of difficulties where we have problems with the Chinese Communist Party's intellectual piracy, in addition to some of the other problems associated with those societal ills that are also coming from our northern and southern neighbors.
Yes, I mean, I think China's a more difficult. Obviously, it's a more difficult issue than Mexico and Canada. China's an adversary in the way that these two other two governments are certainly not. But we have to be. I think we have to be open to recognizing these threats and taking judicious actions on a case-by-case basis to deal with them. But one of the problems with Trump's approach to tariffs, he just loves tariffs, and so when he says, "Okay, we're going to impose tariffs unilaterally across our imports from China," that's not a targeted approach. I don't see that does much to deal with national security concerns. The fact is, we do rely on China, as do other countries, for a lot of inputs that make our productivity higher. China relies on us, which doesn't, at some level, make China less likely to be aggressive against us militarily. I'm not saying it guarantees it. It guarantees no aggression. Obviously, it doesn't. But I would prefer a more sober, less shotgun-like approach. Across the board tariffs, I don't see as really addressing the national security concerns.
Yeah, I mean, the thing, Trump is complicated in this way because, I mean, my view on it, I'll get yours, is that he's not really like a philosophical autarkist, right? He's not, but it's more sort of cultural, but he's pragmatic as well. So if he can extract concessions and get a victory or advance his flag, for example, in border security, a little bit more, then he's willing to go back and forth. He's as much as he talks about tariffs, I don't think he's sort of dogmatic about it. I don't think he's an absolutist on it. I think he just sees it as leverage, and he loves to use the leverage that he has. That's what he learned in business, and that's what he's applying in politics, I suppose.
He thinks the United States is a company, and so people, and so he treats it as if he's the CEO of the company. And so we're not going to buy from you if you don't do what I want you to do. I think that's a categorically mistaken way to look at the matter. Of course, in some circumstances, using a tariff threat can persuade other governments. Adam Smith, a great economic, originator of economics, understood this. Of course, in some circumstances, tariff threats can lead to benefits, but you have to be judicious with them. You have to talk sense when you're explaining them, and he doesn't. Many of the things that he says he wants to achieve with his tariff threats are things that should not be achieved. The U.S. trade deficit with Canada, for example, as he calls it, it's an irrelevant factoid. It means nothing economically, but he thinks it means something. And so we get reasonably sensible objectives. Okay, we'll use tariffs to increase border security, mixed in with utterly economically incoherent claims, and it makes global investors and frankly sensible people question just how much trust to put in this administration on the trade front.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I agree with you that trade deficits don't matter, but there's a lot of economists who don't, too. A lot of those in your profession in academia that provide intellectual cover for that position, even though it's not a particularly reasoned one. All right, well. Don Buro, American economist, author, professor, co-director of the program on the American economy and globalization at the Mercatus Center at George Mason University. Don, thank you as always.
My pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484.
All right, I might take it early. That's my balance of nature. Why? Not getting enough fruits and veggies on my own. I hardly had any vegetables. I think I had a banana yesterday, and that's not enough. And that's where Balance of Nature comes in. 6 capsules. You're getting several servings of 31 different fruits and veggies. It's so easy. Open up the capsules in warm water, dust them into a salad, or just take them as is. It's the best. You'll love it. Your body, mind, and heart will thank you for it. Order your fruits and vegetables today. 800-246-8751. Use coupon code Chicago, save 35%. 800-246-8751 or online at balanceofnature.com, and be sure to use coupon code Chicago.
I think one of the things that patients don't realize is that when they get a joint replacement, that's not a lifetime treatment option. And they're probably, if they are a younger patient, signing up for multiple surgeries down the road.
As a physician and medical director for QC Kinetics, Dr. Caravelli's seen a pattern of trending joint pain. Prolonged medication, steroids, then surgery, possibly another surgery.
So a lot of our patients are trying to avoid or put off surgery, and this is the treatment that can help them do that.
QC Kinetics extracts your body's healing substances, concentrates them back into your aching joints to help heal and restore those areas, providing lasting relief.
Oh, I love being able to tell my patients, before we do this surgery, let's try another option. Let's see if this is right for you, because now they might not have to have surgery at all.
Call today for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. Your business and your money are in good hands with Signature Bank. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Jason Zenger, owner of Zenger's Industrial Supply and host of the Making Shifts podcast, and a proud customer of Signature Bank. Through rapid growth, acquisitions of competitors, and taking over from the previous generation, Signature Bank was there with us every step of the way. Recently, the team introduced us to FinRails AP, their proprietary system for accounts payable automation. Not only did FinRails AP help us to reduce costs and create efficiencies, but it also helped minimize fraud risk. Now, our company can invest time into what we do best, supplying industrial products, metalworking tooling, contractor tools, and safety supplies to those who make, build, and create great things for our country.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Another tutorial on how the DC press corps works. Pretty good one. John Conrad has it. We'll discuss at 7:07.
But first, let's head into the newsroom. Busy man today. Just remember, folks, that there can be ice on your grass. I learned the hard way today. I thought, if I make it there, I'll be just fine. And I was slip sliding.
Drivers need to remain cautious. Dan and Amy on the roads this morning in the Chicago area. Chicago Teachers Union reacting to an independent arbitrator who found CPS apparently has more money to offer in contract negotiations. However, the fact-finding report has been rejected, and that may lead the district closer to a strike. In Chicago sports, Bulls fall to Minnesota last night, and the Fighting Illini fall on the road. WIND Chicago News Time is 7 o'clock.
We're about to hear from President Trump. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. He'll soon speak at the National Prayer Breakfast. And at the same time,
progressives will be holding a news conference that is likely to echo a lot of what we heard at the nobody elected Elon rally outside the Treasury Department. You had Democrats casting Musk's role at Doge as illegal.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House.
Democrats have been pressuring their lawmakers to do more to stop Trump's agenda, like protest Senate votes and throw up roadblocks, calling Elon Musk an unelected bureaucrat who's amassed unchecked power.
Though after a lawsuit, the Justice Department has put a limit on Musk's Department of Government Efficiency access to sensitive Treasury Department financial information. And as Musk aims to trim federal spending, today is the deadline day for federal workers to accept President Trump's buyout offer. And about 40,000 of them have agreed to resign and get pay and benefits through September. The president has a new transgender executive order.
With this executive order, the war on women's sports is over.
He threatens to cut federal funding to any schools that allow athletes born male from playing in women's and girls' sports. President Trump posted on Truth Social this morning that Israel will give the U.S. control of Gaza to rebuild it after the fighting ends, as the ceasefire with Hamas remains in place. As for Palestinians living there,
the Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz says any departures from Gaza would be voluntary. He's ordered his military to start making plans, accusing Hamas of using Gazans as human shields. Palestinians across the region fear the Israeli plan is an effort to erase them completely from their homeland.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. A controversial Trump nominee gets a vote today in the Senate Judiciary Committee whether to advance Kash Patel, who's in line to be FBI director, to the full Senate for confirmation the day after Pam Bondi was sworn in as Attorney General.
I will restore integrity to the Justice Department.
Bondi issued a memo to pause federal funding to sanctuary cities resisting federal immigration raids. America's listening to Fox News.
7:02, cloudy skies and 30 degrees. Drivers need to remain cautious on the side roads, sidewalks, and front steps this morning. Freezing rain fell overnight. Main roads and expressways, along with the toll roads, appear to be okay. Chicago Teachers Union saying an independent arbitrator found that CPS officials have more money to offer in contract negotiations than they're letting on, representing an unexpectedly positive outcome for the union. However, CTU leaders say they will reject the neutral fact finder's report because it falls short in other areas. And that is a move that could take the district closer to a teacher's strike.
They're going to read this fact-finding report, and they're going to question why the CEO continues to give doomsday reporting.
CTU leaders called it the most favorable report they've seen in 15 years since a state law was created allowing for a neutral arbitrator to weigh in on CPS-CTU disputes. Mayor Brandon Johnson has rescinded a COVID-era mandate that forced city employees to get vaccinated against the virus, a move that is now fueling demands for back pay and reinstatement for those who defied the mandate. The FOP led the charge against the mandate imposed in 2021 by then Mayor Lori Lightfoot. The Illinois Labor Relations Board ruled against the city and overturned the mandate twice. The jury in Michael Madigan's corruption trial entering day 7 of deliberations. Chicago Police Department mourning the death of an officer. The 27-year-old was found dead with a gunshot wound to the head yesterday morning near 58th and Nagel. Her name has not been released. Mayor Brandon Johnson will testify before Congress about sanctuary cities, a reversal of his earlier platform where he said he was still considering whether or not he would go before the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee hearing on March 5, along with mayors from Boston, Denver, and New York. Bulls lost to the Timberwolves 127-108. Bulls keeping Lonzo Ball around for another 2 years and $20 million. Blackhawks an overtime loss to Edmonton 4-3. College hoops, number 23 Fighting Illini likely will fall out of the top 25 following a loss to unranked Rutgers 82-73. The news service, a Balance of Nature fruits and veggies in a capsule. Order online at balanceofnature.com to save 35%. Hurry, offer ends soon. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
On March 4th, President Trump will make his first address to a joint session of Congress of his new presidency.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
And AM 560 The Answer is throwing a watch party, and you're invited to join us for dinner at the Meridian Banquets and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. Enjoy dinner before the speech, and then watch the speech with AM 560's Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, and Sean Thompson. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/watch. That's 560theanswer.com/watch.
It's Uncle Sam, and he wants some of your retirement money. Like it or not, you're going to owe taxes on your 401k. The good news is you may be able to reduce your tax bill with some strategic planning. Scott Tucker and the team at Scott Tucker Solutions are here to help. You'll work together to craft a plan that's designed to help make sure you don't pay a penny more than you should. Taxes are historically low right now, and we all know they probably won't remain this low forever, so call Scott Tucker and the Scott Tucker Solutions team before this tax-saving opportunity is gone. 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. It's time to preserve the retirement you deserve without giving more than necessary to your favorite uncle. Call Scott Tucker and the team at Scott Tucker Solutions now to schedule your 401k tax review. 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Firm does not give tax advice.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Police Sergeant Christopher David Fitzgerald of the Temple University Police Department sustained fatal gunshot wounds while attempting to arrest a robbery suspect. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation provided a mortgage-free home to his wife and their 5 children in honor of their forever hero. Christopher was a great father, husband, brother, and son who is so very missed. Heroes like Christopher protect and serve our communities and our nation. Show your support. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. When the FBI's senior leadership initially balked at providing a list of employees used in the investigation of the January 6 riot, they told the media that they feared mass firings. What they really feared was mass accountability. The Bureau finally complied with a legal order to provide the roster, and it had over 5,000 names. The FBI only has some 14,000 agents. Christopher Wray and Merrick Garland tied up a third of the nation's only federal law enforcement and counterintelligence agency over a riot. It's an absurd allocation of resources. And resources that should have been applied to real threats and violent criminals were unavailable. The same can be said for the other resources applied to politicized targeting of pro-lifers on FACE Act pretenses, snooping on conservative Catholics, and treating parents protesting school board policies as domestic terrorists. Accountability is coming and long overdue. I'm Ed Morrissey.
7:08 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of almostfreeteeth.com. What if you could save an average of 90% for dental implants and get 100% of your smile back? Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. The Kennedy has a crash left shoulder. It's inbound at Cumberland and 39 minutes into the circle right now. The Ike inbound 45 to the old post office. Ike outbound jamming up Central to First. Stevenson at 45 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan Express lanes jammed up Pershing into the Stevenson. Heavy slow traffic on the Bishop Ford inbound between the Stony Island feeder and the Dan Ryan. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
After a cloudy start, some sun, breezy day. High today 40. Breezy this evening, clear to partly cloudy tonight and a low 19. Clouds and sun tomorrow, the high 32. Sleet and freezing rain on Saturday, high Saturday 35. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
30 at O'Hare, 32 Midway, 30 in Aurora, and 31 Lakefront. Your next news update, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. As you heard in Mike Scott's newscast, the left is digging in on Doge and Musk.
Yeah.
This will continue.
Elon Musk is the new boogeyman.
They need to distract attention away from the fiscal reality of the situation. And the D.C. press corps is going to help. Bill Ackman, the billionaire hedge fund dude who's undergoing a bit of political reorientation. So, longtime Dem until basically this cycle. Although you could say the same about Musk, couldn't you?
Yeah, that's true.
He tweeted out about this contretemps involving Musk and Doge. I think we can all agree on a few things. We have $36 trillion of national debt growing at a rapid rate that must be refinanced and issued at a materially higher interest rate as our bonds come due and as new funds are needed. We had $1.8 trillion deficit in fiscal year 2024. There's an enormous amount of fraud, waste, and inappropriate spending in our government. It is illegal and or otherwise should not be permitted for our government to fund activities that it cannot do directly through NGOs and other nonprofits. And Elon Musk has a proven ability to take over dysfunctional organizations and turn them into highly functioning ones while massively reducing wasteful overhead and other spending. See this platform that I'm posting on. And Trump won the election with a mandate for eliminating wasteful government spending and ending regulations that interfere with our country's progress. You would think we could all agree on those basic, indefatigable facts, but no. So he's on board with Doge and what Elon Musk is attempting to do in consultation with the president. But obviously, per the histrionics we saw on display this week from all of the premier leftist demagogues, this is going to continue in its current acrimonious state. And the D.C. press corps is there to help. This is a really interesting distillation of how the D.C. press corps works from a guy who writes for a maritime outlet. He's a ship captain and apparently a shipbuilder. This guy named John Conrad. And he provided this explanation of how the D.C. press corps works. It's nothing that I haven't said. The fact D.C. press corps in and of itself is a term that connotes blob, connotes shared brain. And I've often said that the D.C. press corps and its regional outlets, like in Chicago, are nothing more than the comm shop for the new Marxist Party, which is what they are. But John Conrad goes into some detail that I think is instructive. I'll share with your friends so they understand what they're reading when they consume anything from corporate media, whether in Chicago or out of D.C. or New York. The entire liberal deep state command and control system is broken. He writes, the New York Times' primary function isn't journalism, it's narrative coordination. Setting the frame so the entire political media machine knows how to think about an issue before it takes off. Ever notice how overnight everyone starts saying Biden is sharp as a tack or J.D. Vance is weird? It's not random, it's a system. The narrative pipeline. New York Times, NPR, WAPO, CNN, the rest don't just react to news. They function as a distributed, decentralized mission command system for the Democrat Party and the broader blob. Step one, local bureau chiefs, like in Chicago. These guys are stationed across the country watching which stories gain traction and fielding calls from Dem operatives feeding them narratives. You know, like when David Axelrod feeds the Chicago Tribune a narrative about Jack Ryan, so they sue to get his divorce records.
Oh, yeah.
Stories that need to start, stories that they need to start controlling. This is what the local bureau chiefs do. Step 2, the New York editors. Bureau chiefs snip the news and send it to New York, where an editor triages it. Will it explode? Will this explode nationwide? Will it simmer for days? Should we bury it? Step 3, editorial meeting. The most concerning stories get flagged. Here, editors decide on the narrative framing and who to assign to write it. But before they assign a journalist, they make one critical call to the deep state. Why? To give the government a head start on controlling the story. And when we say deep state, I mean these IC community, it's expanded to include some federal law enforcement agencies over the last 4 years. So it's not one person that's the point person fielding all the calls. It's their contacts in all of these different agencies. So why do they call the deep state? To give the government a head start on controlling the story. At this point, the agency contact du jour doesn't just say, here's what happened. They strategically select sources based on the tone they want. If they need hawkish China rhetoric, they have a China hardliner expert on speed dial. If they want to downplay a Chinese spy scandal, they go to a dovish China expert who will say it's being blown out of proportion. If it's a military scandal, they pick a trustworthy retired general to subtly steer the discussion toward a desired conclusion. This isn't journalism, it's perception warfare. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 646, going back to my olden times. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line. I mean, did you ever experience this in whatever constituted a newsroom at NBC5?
No, I mean, I think I had my head in the sand, or I was too self-absorbed, or the only time I would fill in for Dick Kay, and I always tried to get...
Dick Snodgrass.
Dick Snodgrass, yes. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. But I would always, try and get the Republican response, or even sometimes like the Independent Party, anything. And I'll never forget one of my news directors like, well, you don't need to do that. And I said, no, I do need to do that. I want to know what the, opposing party thinks.
Yeah, so. and by the way, how this actually works too, because I know it being on the other side of it for so long, is most of the journalists will ask the Democrat, I need to get a Republican response. Who should I go to? So then the Democrat is controlling which Republican that gets the response, because this is the perception warfare. So we want the perception that both sides have been heard from and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But we're really going to give you a Republican that advances the cause of the Democrat.
Bingo. Yep.
This is what Conrad is talking about. The journalist's job is simple, he writes. Get quotes from the right experts, write it up, stick to the approved angles. That's what journalism is. In Chicago media, Chicago corporate media, in D.C., in New York, doesn't matter. This is interesting, too, he writes, about the alignment. So, everybody knows what to do. And the culture is set. If someone breaks the narrative in a big way intentionally, there are three options. Talking about pundits, each individual pundit and blog is allowed to post independently, but they all know unconsciously to work the narrative because that's where the rewards are. Someone breaks the narrative in a big way, there are three options. Smear campaign to make them toxic.
Right.
Ban them from the system. Wikipedia blacklist, social media throttle.
Do not hire lists.
Yeah, no Pentagon press, no DC party invites. Number 3, this is turn them into a double agent who claims to buck the narrative but subtly shifts things to the left. Barry Weiss is the ultimate genius at this.
Wow.
Oh, it's interesting to call out Barry Weiss. He's not wrong. I like the Free Press, her outlet, but I mean, I don't trust, and Barry Weiss has done some good journalism, and so have the staff at Free Press, but I don't trust Barry Weiss for a second. Really good point. That's a key one. Turn them into a double agent who claims to buck the narrative, but is subtly shifting things left. Wow. You got to pay close attention to, because you're going to hear from people like this, like Barry Weiss, and as I just said, smart, good interviews, good content. She started this productive outlet, certainly broadening the discussion, the Free Press. She is involved with setting up the University of Austin, that new independent college with a lot of conservative academics and so forth. But fundamentally, she's a woman of the left. And it's somewhat hard to reconcile, but it manifests itself. Anyway.
Would she consider herself a woman of the left?
Not of the modern left, not of the cultural Marxist left, but I mean, she would. I think I don't know. I don't know how she terms herself, but but she is philosophically left. Probably maybe characterizes herself as more sort of libertarian which is just a training wheels to go left, basically. One more point from Conrad, then we'll take a couple of calls. And this guy obviously has some military background, and he provides this. What I was just describing, it's why the narrative feels so unified. No one is forcing compliance. It's a system that rewards alignment. The deep state tries its best to play a soft hand. They let things emerge around the narrative and only step in if the narrative is evolving in a bad way or new information disturbs the narrative. So where does this organic command and control system come from? The military, of course. It's the mission command model. This decentralized coordination mirrors how the best militaries operate through a doctrine called mission command. A bad general micromanages. Move 3 platoons and 6 tanks around this road and attack the base. A good general gives flexibility. Take this logistics base by X time, figure out the best way. A great general sets intent. We need to cripple their supply lines. Here's what we know about their logistics. The best commanders set objectives, not orders, then let their officers adapt on the ground. That is exactly how the New York Times and what he calls the blob, or I would call the D.C. Press Corps, operate. They don't give direct orders to every outlet. They set the intent, how the political media machine should think about an issue. Then think tanks, columnists, TV hosts, activists execute their own variations of the message. So why do Republicans keep losing this narrative war? Because we don't have this. There no clear commander's intent, no unified messaging framework, no ecosystem where think tanks, media, and party strategists move in the same direction. It's chaotic, reactive, and uncoordinated. Meanwhile, Democrats operate like a well-oiled mission command system, not because of a single top-down controller, but because every key player understands their role in pushing the messages. And until Republicans build a competing system, they'll always be playing defense. Now, I take some issue with that sort of categorical statement. One, because I think the media landscape is changing, in part because of Musk and X, but also because of the advent of all sorts of independent and conservative-oriented media outlets. The other thing that makes it difficult, that makes the playing field less than level, is what we've been talking about with USAID, for example, which is the government funding of the blob, as Conrad calls it. You know, when you have all these agencies oriented this way, and you have the personnel, and you have the purse strings, and you have these taxpayer guaranteed income streams, $8 million in Politico subscriptions, for example, from USAID. That's a huge advantage. So I agreed that Republicans are still playing catch up, but I don't necessarily agree with the command control sort of idea of that much sort of cultural coordination, not indirect coordination. Number one. And number two, I think that we're catching up. Or number three, I think we're catching up. But anyway, it's very interesting to sort of just to think about applying a structural overlay to what you're experiencing every day to provide some sort of organizational conception of why you're getting what you're getting from who you're getting it.
I just want to ask you, is there any, I keep looking into this, that taxpayers paid for people like Angelina Jolie to visit Zelensky to persuade Americans to be more supportive of Ukraine? I mean, is that, because if that's true, different outlets were saying that they paid taxpayers $20 million to Angelina Jolie to visit Zelensky.
I I haven't seen that. I don't know if that's been substantiated, but I mean, but all of that
wouldn't surprise me. It's
all
propaganda.
that sort of, they become like these celebrities and so forth become, UN global ambassadors and so forth. So I mean, at minimum, they're being paid to, go on junkets around the world to do photo ops, and who is. So we're paying indirectly through the financing we provide to the UN if we're not paying them directly. And it wouldn't surprise me to see them. Some of this wind up on agency expenditure reports. Patrick in Glenview, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. Operation Mockingbird, created by the CIA in the Cold War to get the press to be delivering a narrative, just as you see today. And when sometimes they cube it up on TV, you'll have like 9 cubes of people, and I'll say the same thing from different news stations. That's what it is. Political Operation Mockingbird, where they had 51 sources say that Biden's laptop computer was Russian disinformation. They did that right before the debate with Biden and Donald Trump in 2020. That's what it is. It's Operation Mockingbird, and one of the things that now it's follow the money is USAID. Now we got the trace of the money tying back to them with the news media.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Patrick. It's much bigger than Operation Mockingbird, though. That was a specific operation that exposed things like CIA funding of student organizations and so forth. And it was documented by the Church Committee. But that was in the mid-'70s. What we're talking about here is, it's definitely federal support and involvement. I mean, look at, we pay for NPR, we pay for WTTW in Chicago, we pay for the Sun-Times because NPR owns the Sun-Times. I mean, all state-run media. But what Conrad is talking about now is this thing has built out into this military command model that he was describing. You can be be a beneficiary of one of these taxpayer income streams or not, but everybody in not everybody, but the overwhelming majority of these outlets that constitute the DC press corps, the corporate media, whichever term you prefer, the blob, as Conrad calls it, it doesn't have to be set up by the CIA. They're not. There's no waiting for deep state agencies to do this sort of infrastructure building. Now it's all set up, and there's a cultural ethos around being a quote unquote political journalist in D.C., in Chicago, in L.A. Same thing. So I think this is why we're talking about the need for another church committee. 50 years later. Yeah. This is sort of what Doge is doing in part, even though they're just sort of looking for places to reduce government spend. They're not necessarily have the same attitude of investigating CIA activities like the Church Committee did. It's broader than that, but you're going to uncover the things like they've been uncovering with respect to USAID. Greg in Schaumburg.
Hey, Dan and Amy, got an idea for you. I know you're kind of young and you may not remember the Gong Show, but this could turn you two into national icons. And Justin, heads up here. What about a Gong Show where you just sit there and you read off the USAID list, and Amy can be the guest gonger, et cetera. Yeah. And then Dan, the closed billboard would be a close up on your face. You can't handle the truth, liberals.
I think that's been used. Thanks. I'm not ready for my Chuck Barris moment. By the way, didn't Chuck Barris have fantasies about being a CIA agent or something? Isn't that right? The host of the Gong Show.
Oh, look.
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
And they actually, if I remember right, didn't George Clooney make a movie about it? I believe so. I'll double check that.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. So I don't know. Whatever happened to Chuck Barris, I don't want it to happen to me. Mark in Western Indiana.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. It's been years.
Hey,
Okay.
as the story is breaking on USAID, people look at that acronym and they see aid, and it has nothing to do with aid. That's U.S. Agency for Foreign or International Development. It's turned out these guys are the left arm of the CIA. The CIA has to pay attention and operate under law, but these guys are a shadow government agency that gets to do the dirty work that the CIA can't do, and have been tied to race riots and stuff around the world, working with news media to launch stuff to overthrow governments.
I don't know. Thanks for the call, Mark. I don't know about that. As we talked about earlier in the show, per Michael Schellenberger's report, USAID set up a media outlet, financed a media outlet that was used that did this report on Trump, that was used as the basis for a CIA whistleblower to file a complaint against Trump that the Dems picked up and used as the basis for impeaching him, impeachment 1.0, over the allegation that he was demanding Zelensky investigate the Bidens or he would withhold aid from the United States. I mean, the whole thing was a fifth column action that involved CIA and USAID, if you believe Schellenberger's reporting, which seems to be pretty well sourced. Yeah, I mean, these are fifth column actors. It's not just about the dollars and cents. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, we'll talk about making Gaza the Riviera of the Middle East with Eugene Korovich, 7:37.
MAGA in the Mediterranean. Gaza Lago. I know we go through all of them. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Just a couple of things. The movie is Confessions of a Dangerous Mind with Sam Rockwell.
I do like Sam Rockwell, but I didn't see the movie.
Yeah, really good. 2002. And if you'd like to see the declassified documents for Operation Mockingbird, you can go to the Gerald Ford Museum in Grand Rapids. They've got them displayed and in their archives, if you'd like to take a look at those.
There you go.
7:32, demonstrations have been breaking out across the country in protest of recent actions taken by the Trump administration. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Donald Trump's plan for Gaza is fine by him.
Idea of allowing first Gazans who want to leave to... I mean, what's wrong with that? They can leave, they can then come back, they can relocate and come back, but you have to rebuild Gaza. If you want to rebuild Gaza, you can't have... this is the first good idea that I've heard. It's a remarkable idea.
The idea announced by Trump this week calls for the relocation of some 2 million Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Netanyahu on Fox News on Wednesday. Grubhub says it suffered a major data breach and some customer contact info was compromised. It came through a third-party service provider that someone broke into. Drivers should remain cautious, but the roads are pretty decent this morning in the Chicago area. It's your front steps, sidewalks, and other driveway areas that the National Weather Service says are coated with freezing rain from overnight. Chicago Teachers Union said an independent arbitrator found that CPS has more money to offer in contract negotiations than they're letting on. But in spite of that, CTU leaders say they will reject the neutral fact finder's report because it falls short, they believe, in other areas, and that move could move the district closer to a strike.
They're going to read this fact-finding report, and they're going to question why the CEO continues to give doomsday reporting.
In other news, Mayor Brandon Johnson has rescinded a COVID area mandate that forced city employees to get vaccinated against the virus, a move that is now fueling demands for back pay and some reinstatement. An Illinois Democrat has introduced legislation that would prevent schools from fining students for municipal code violations. State Representative LaShawn Ford says the bill prohibits school personnel from issuing a monetary fine, a fee, or a ticket for that violation.
Ticketing students is considered to be bad practice because it can create significant financial burdens on families, especially those in the Black and brown communities.
And doctors at Northwestern University Medicine say medical innovations in the last year have helped them achieve 2 medical milestones. the largest number of lung transplants in a single year, and the shortest median wait time for transplants.
Our median wait time was only 4 days, and it continues to be at that short. That's to our knowledge, a world record.
Lung in a box and lung in a fridge advances from Dr. Ankit Bharat, who you just heard. Those advances allow doctors to perform a record 148 transplants in 2024, the most in the program's 10-year history. Bulls lost to the Timberwolves. College hoops fighting Illini fall to unranked Rutgers, 82-73, and the Blackhawks lost to Edmonton. The news, a service of In Grace with Jim Scudder Jr., now heard Sunday morning at 7:30 right here on AM 560. 7:35, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
We do anything for love.
This Valentine's Day, you can say, I love you to that special someone.
Just one kiss from your sweet lips will tell.
In the form of $2,000 if you win our Cash for Couples contest.
I love you so much.
Enter today at 560theanswer.com/love. That's 560theanswer.com/love. Are you an administrator, staff member, or parent volunteer at a private school? Would you like to grow your current enrollment and welcome new families to your school? If so, we want to tell you about a great opportunity to help increase enrollment and promote your school to families all across Chicagoland. It's called ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com. They work to connect private schools with new families who are looking for discounted first-year tuition. In exchange, your school will receive a marketing campaign to help grow your enrollment. Chicagoland School Vouchers does all the work to bring new families together with your school and help you expand your reach. They've been working with schools across Chicagoland for over a decade. As the demand for school choice grows here in Illinois, your private school needs to take advantage of this program. To learn more, just visit ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com. That's ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world, one life at a time.
I'm 80 years old. I'm a veteran, and the reds and the greens, I really appreciate the vegan capsules from Balance of Nature. So I can definitely tell you it's all 100% positive. It really, really works.
I love the fiber and spice. I'm getting started back on the fruits and vegetables, but the fiber and spice, it's the best fiber I've ever taken in the last 20 years.
It's the best gift I've ever given myself. I just feel better. I swear it's due to Balance of Nature.
I am really, really happy with the product and couldn't say more to advise people to buy them.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Go to balanceofnature.com and get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping as a new preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hi, AM 560 family. It's Tom Sadeka, founder and CEO of Freedom Chamber, the pro-American business network. I'm reaching out to my fellow patriot business owners and entrepreneurs. Please join us at freedomchamber.net, along with our co-founders, Job Creators Network, Salem Media, Epoch Times, Patriot Mobile, Old Glory Bank, and other patriotic businesses. We have built this community to unite us to thrive and restore the American dream. Join us and take advantage of great information and intel from our key advisors, exclusive savings for business services, tech, marketing, and advertising. Find a new client or vendor in our growing network. The latest news, our members now have exclusive access to group health plans and cost containment solutions that save big dollars and improve care. And now with a big voice in DC, together we can impact American small business together for the better. Please join us at freedomchamber.net.
7:39. Let's get an update on the roads now. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And we will start in Elk Grove Village. Bad accident, Higgins and Arlington Heights Road. An accident with injuries there. Bloomingdale, Army Trail and Gary reported an accident. Wheaton, Blanchard, and Illinois, an accident. Hinsdale, York, and Ogden reported an accident. I-80 disabled vehicle right lane blocked On the westbound side between Hobart and I-55, they're waiting for a tow truck there. Big delays on the tri-state this morning northbound between Roosevelt and the Ike. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Breezy, clouds on the decrease for the afternoon, and a high near 40. Currently cloudy and 30 degrees. There are some delayed openings for schools. Check your website and your alerts on your phone for any details. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Trump sitting with Bibi the other day talking about his proposal that America takes point in resettling former residents of Gaza Strip.
Would Palestinians have the right to return to Gaza if they left while the rebuilding was happening?
It would be my hope that we could do something really nice, really good, where they wouldn't want to return. Why would they want to return? The place has been hell. It's been one of the meanest, toughest places on earth. And right now, I've seen every picture from every angle, better than if I were there. And nobody can live there. You can't live there.
Right. I mean, if you've seen the pictures, the place is leveled. And for that reporter screeching out, why shouldn't they return? It's their home. Well, who's going to pay for the reconstruction? Hamas?
Yeah, they're. I mean,
what Trump is doing is
starting a conversation.
Well, he's trying to end the status quo and get America and Israel off of this hamster wheel we've been on for the better part of 60 years. And all of the hysterics in the direction of this idea from the left, of course, ethnic cleansing, imperialism, here in a second. But Trump went on to say, we should go to other countries of interest with humanitarian hearts, and there are many of them that want to do this and build various domains that will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in Gaza, ending the death and destruction and, frankly, bad luck. This can be paid for by neighboring countries of great wealth. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 12. It could be numerous sites, or it could be one large site. But the people will be able to live in comfort and peace, and we'll make sure something really spectacular is done. And for that, Trump is treated to the duly elected representative from the Houston area, Al Green, moving articles of impeachment.
There we go.
Ethnic cleansing has been a crime against humanity. And I stand here today in the well to denounce what was said, to denounce what the president said, to denounce the complicity of the Prime Minister of Israel, and to remind people that Dr. King was right. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And injustice in Gaza is a threat to justice in the United States of America. I rise to announce that the movement to impeach the president has begun.
Yawn.
I rise to announce that I will bring articles of impeachment against the president for dastardly deeds proposed and dastardly deeds done.
The old dastardly deeds clause. Dastardly deeds done dirt cheap. Okay, Representative Green. I guess he wants to impeach both Trump and Bibi. I'm not sure he understands the limits of the House's impeachment power. But anyway, I digress. Vaughn Hilliard is a White House correspondent. Our conversation we just had about the D.C. press corps, prime example. Al Green, Vaughn Hilliard tried to tell them apart, other than the rhetorical flourishes. Not much. Decentralized. Come at it from your own angle, but just make sure you're pushing the right one.
I mean, let's be very clear. Outside of Jared Kushner making a passing remark, a seemingly passing remark back in March of Gaza having beautiful waterfront property, we have not heard the words of candidate Donald Trump or President Trump suggest the takeover of a land where millions of people call home, the moving them out and the taking over and the ownership of the United States. And I think that what this represents, I think, cannot be overstated here. Back in the first Trump administration, there was some semblance of a governing structure in the Trump administration. In 2020, with the help of Jared Kushner, they did put forward what they called a two-state solution proposal, right? There was going to be a two states, and yet there was going to have Israeli security forces overseeing the Palestinian state. Palestinian President Abbas completely rejected it. Okay, but at least it was some sort of a plan or something that was put forward. This is not anything of a plan. This is a complete American imperialism at its roots, at its core. Donald Trump suggesting that this land in the Middle East would be better occupied and overseen by America. I just don't think we can really begin to even comprehend what we're hearing 2 weeks in from this administration in terms of the role that the United States is supposed to play. And even Bibi Netanyahu stood next to him and said, I think that the American president sees maybe a different plan than what I do.
American imperialism. We're now pleased to be joined by Eugene Korovich, professor at George Mason University's Scalia Law School, senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Eugene Korovich, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, pleasure to be here this morning.
I've got some, questions about what Trump has proposed, generally speaking, but I don't see this as American imperialism or a dastardly deed, as Representative Green suggested. What's your view?
I think President Trump is perhaps the first world leader who is trying to do something meaningful for the people of Gaza, something positive. People of Gaza live in the world's largest open-air prison. And that open-air prison was created by Hamas, Egypt, which controls the southern border, with the assistance of the United States, and in particular, the Biden administration. People in Gaza are not allowed to leave. In every single war in modern times, you've seen millions of refugees from Syria, millions of refugees from Afghanistan, millions and millions of refugees from Ukraine. Imagine what those wars would look like if everyone was trapped inside and not allowed to leave. But that is exactly what Hamas has done. They have locked everybody in their miserable Muslim Brotherhood hellhole and do not allow them to leave. And as a result, those people are basically like trapped like in North Korea. And Donald Trump is for the first time allowing them a way out.
Right, but where are they going to go? I mean, Jordan tried that, and they tried to take over the Jordanians, so they sent them back.
No. So first of all, they don't all have to go to the same place, but it's I don't think there needs to be a central plan necessarily for where they go. The point is, Egypt has to let them out. Where did people from Ukraine go? They didn't all go to the same country, right? No. They went to Germany. They went to Hungary. They went to Poland. They went all over Europe. Right? Countries in Europe supposedly believe in the right of asylum and migration. They're always nagging America that we don't take enough asylum and migrants. They have to take at least some Gazans. Right? Some can go to major supporters of the Palestinians, like Turkey and Qatar. So the idea that they all need to go to the same place is fallacious. And the idea that you need to know where they're going to, in advance, that's like you don't say that it's okay that North Korea doesn't let people leave unless we have a plan for where everyone would go.
Yeah,
I think they're going to figure out themselves.
Elliot Kaufman, writing in the Wall Street Journal on the topic, the purpose of Gaza is to keep Palestinians as perpetual refugees waging a forever war on Israel. Wow. Does that about sum it?
Yeah, correct. And really, they're in a state of serfdom. What do I mean by serfdom? It's a very unusual thing. They're forcibly tied to the land. They have a status that in international law is the only international status that is hereditary, the status of Palestinian refugees, which even if you've lived somewhere all your life, you're always going to be a refugee because of UNRWA, which President Trump has also defunded correctly. So they're being held there as serfs, as a thorn in the side of Israel. and as essentially a perpetual problem to create pressure on Israel, and nobody considers their well-being or their lives.
And if we rebuilt Gaza, or Gaza was rebuilt, and the Palestinian residents of Gaza moved back in, I mean, then we go back to what Hamas was doing before, which is the entire, as Alex Trayman writes in Jewish News Syndicate, the entirety of civilian infrastructure in the coastal enclave as the base of operations for Hamas, where nearly every residential building, mosque, school, and hospital was turned into a weapons storage depot or a tunnel entrance. So we just continue on this hamster wheel, as I said at the outset.
Right, but I think it's unrealistic that the majority of people are going to want to. But we hear two things. On one hand, President Biden kept saying, Gaza is not Hamas. The people of Gaza don't like Hamas. So presumably they want to go somewhere else and not be governed by Hamas. So just let them leave. But this is not a question of forcibly deporting anyone. It's a question of letting them leave. And if it's really the case, as people say, this is their home, they'll never want to leave, they're attached to their land. First of all, that makes them different from all other people who do flee during times of war, conflict, and dictatorship. And secondly, why then are the tanks parked on the Egyptian side of the border pointing at Gaza, ready to mow down anyone who crosses the border?
Right. I mean, it's very interesting. All of these countries that ran to denounce this idea that Trump proposed, say, we're not on board and that's not going to work, that's not going to happen. But because because they have no interest in allowing Palestinians to resettle in their countries, and the last thing they want is an influx that may be of indeterminate size coming into their country. That's what seems to be their posture.
Which is interesting, which is strange, because these countries have taken in millions of refugees from Syria, millions from Afghanistan. Are they saying the Palestinians are somehow worse? That they're less human, they have fewer rights? But I'll tell you what happened in the past 4 years. What happened in the past 4 years is President Biden treated the U.S. border, right, the way he should have treated the Gaza border, saying anyone who wants to cross. And he treated the Gaza border the way he should have treated the U.S. border. Nobody crossed. And President Trump is correctly flipping both of the right. He says, no, the U.S. border, we really should have some control over who gets it. Right. Though, of course, people are still allowed in, just not illegally. The Gaza border, there, we don't need to be controlling, and we don't need to be giving Egypt $3 billion a year so that they can point their tanks at Gaza and mow down people seeking to flee Hamas, seeking to flee conflict, seeking a better life for themselves.
What's your perspective on why the Egyptians, the Jordanians, the Turks are so opposed to Palestinians resettling in their countries?
Numerous reasons. But their principal interest in the Palestinians is as a weapon against Israel. Mm-hmm. So they're not interested in the Palestinians as people. They're interested in the Palestinians as a tool against Israel. So if they're not a tool against Israel, if they're not on Israel's borders, their interest in them disappears. And we can see how Palestinians are treated in these countries terribly. Additionally, Egypt, and Egypt and Jordan these countries all have very bad relations with Israel. So anything that might happen to be good for Israel, they would not want to do, even if it's actually good for their, fellow Arabs.
I wanted to get your take on the developments in Panama, too, because you've written about it. And the announcement that the Panamanians, well, a couple already since Trump started saber-rattling about taking the canal back. One is they're not going to re-up their Belt and Road deal with the Chinese Communist Party. And two is U.S. military ships get to pass through the canal for free now. How about that?
So it's very impressive that the president achieved, concessions in basically 10 days from coming into office. These things usually take years of diplomacy. But at the same time, the concessions do not really fully address the concerns that the United States has raised. So, the free transit for military vessels, it saves a couple $1 million a year. It's not really significant in the bigger scheme of things. Mm-hmm. And the objections to the tolls that they were charging were not really about military ships, but about the rest of our civilian merchant traffic. Now, it's good that they're not going to renew the Belt and Road Memorandum. Now, it only expires in a couple of years, So first of all, we have to judge that when we get there. And secondly, the Belt and Road Memorandum, which they signed with Communist China, is certainly an aggravating factor. But again, the core of the objection is that they have contracted the management and operation of infrastructure around the canal to Chinese companies. And those companies are still going to be there. So I think the bigger question is, are they going to cancel those contracts? Are they going to not, are they going to renegotiate those contracts? I think that's certainly a bigger burden on Panama. But only something like that would be really responsive to the objections.
How do you think of the job Marco Rubio's doing so far? I mean, in 2 days, he pretty much ironed out the problems at the Panama Canal and then went to El Salvador and got the president of El Salvador to say, yeah, we'll take our illegals back and we'll take your criminals too.
Yeah, amazing. He's done a fantastic job. You can't compare him to his predecessor, Secretary Blinken. And I think he's been empowered by the fact that President Trump is perceived as a strong leader, and countries have a sense that they're not going to be able to continue with business as usual.
Eugene Korovich, professor at George Mason University's Scalia Law School and senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Professor Korovich, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
Great to be here as always. Take care.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Larry Elder, inviting you to join me on the Alaska cruise this summer, along with Mike Gallagher, Jennifer Horn, and Joe Piscopo. Enjoy Alaska's breathtaking beauty like never before. Text the word travel to 94878 to reserve your cabin today. This luxury trip is your chance to experience majestic scenery, patriotism, and adventure. We set sail August 16th through the 23rd. Reserve your cabin today. Text travel to 94878. That's travel to 94878.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
So when we saw the advertisements for this by reputable people, I told my husband, I said, well, we don't have anything to lose, so let's do it. Within a month, I could see a difference. It's really great. Y'all should let me do those commercials. Do you know how many people I have gotten to take Balance of Nature?
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements today. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't wait. Now's the time to take action. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
With over 50 years of precision tooling, that's a lot of job shop work and custom parts. And it's why Bruscher Machining is the go-to CNC turning and machining company in Chicagoland. If you have a custom project, whether it's a single prototype or a short-run production of a few thousand pieces, give them a call today for your free custom quote. 630-876-1661. That's 630-876-1661. Or visit BruscherMachining.com. That's BRUCHER Machining.com. They also provide heat treating, balancing, plating, and surface coating, welding and fabrication, plus project management. Bruscher Machining guarantees to consistently deliver high-quality parts and solutions on time for reasonable prices. Yeah, everyone says that, but the proof is in the tooling. Stop by to meet their team of seasoned pros and tour the facility located in West Chicago. To learn more about how CNC machining can turn your tough project into an operational reality, contact Bruscher Machining today for your free custom quote. 630-876-1661.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, Hollywood actor by way of Chicago, Jay Johnston, he was arrested on J6. He was pardoned by Trump. And he's not getting much work in Hollywood these days. We'll talk about all of that with him at 8:08.
When he joins us next. But first, we have to stop into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Slippery conditions this morning on your sidewalk. Be careful as about a quarter inch of freezing rain and ice fell overnight. CPD is mourning the death of an officer. Mayor Brandon Johnson to testify before Congress, and the Bulls lose to the Timberwolves while the Illini fall to Rutgers. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
It's time for the National Prayer Breakfast. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Without faith in God, there would be no American story.
President Trump addressing members of Congress at the Capitol first.
We're very hurt
Probably the
by
furthest
what
away from you.
COVID did to religion. It really hurt it badly. People couldn't go to church for a long period of time.
Well, the breakfast is about to start at the Hilton in Washington. This is the last day for federal workers to accept the president's offer to resign now and be paid through September.
We expect a surge of federal workers, according to the White House, to accept the buyout offer before the midnight deadline. As of yesterday, about 40,000 federal workers had accepted this program out of an approximate 2 million who could be eligible. It is, however, not quite yet the 5 to 10% that the White House estimated would take this deal and resign from their jobs, which, if they were to hit that goal, would save an estimated $100 billion annually.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House as Democrats keep protesting the Department of Government Efficiency's push to trim spending and cut back federal agencies. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley says
Elon Musk wasn't elected or appointed by anyone, and the behavior and the actions that he is taking are unconstitutional and illegal.
Israel is working to get Palestinians to leave Gaza voluntarily as President Trump keeps pushing to have the U.S. take over Gaza and rebuild it, though that's being opposed throughout the Middle East. It is a wintry morning for about 100 million Americans under advisories, with sleet, snow, and ice from the Dakotas to Maine down to Washington, D.C. And on top of that, Fox Weather's Britta Merwin reports.
Tornado watch is now in effect for Kentucky, and we have a flash flood emergency in West Virginia. Charleston locked up in the middle of that. They have high water rescues and a closure on Interstate 64.
And driving is dicey in many areas. Air travel is affected. Nearly 500 flights are canceled, more than 1,000 delayed. America's listening to Fox News.
30 degrees, some icy conditions at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Chicago Teachers Union said an independent arbitrator has found that CPS officials have more money than they're offering in contract negotiations, representing an unexpectedly positive outcome for the union. But CTU leaders say they're rejecting the neutral fact-finder report because it falls short in other areas.
They're going to read this fact-finding report, and they're going to question why the CEO continues to give doomsday reporting.
The rejection could move the school district and the CTU closer to a strike. Mayor Brandon Johnson has rescinded a COVID-era mandate that forced city employees to get vaccinated against the virus, a move that is now fueling demands for back pay and reinstatement. The FOP led the charge against the mandate that was imposed in 2021. The jury in Michael Madigan's corruption trial enters day 7 of deliberations today. Jurors have been deliberating since January 29. And a Chicago police officer is dead. The 27-year-old was found, according to Chicago police, yesterday with a gunshot wound to the head near 58th and Nagel inside a home. Her name has not been released. Bulls lost to the Timberwolves in the Twin Cities, 127-108. Blackhawks lost to Edmonton 4-3 in overtime. Fighting Illini fall to unranked Rutgers 82-73. The news, a service of almostfreeteeth.com. What if you could save on dental implants and get 100% of your smile back with a Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP? It's possible. Check if you qualify, almostfreeteeth.com. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. And now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Taylor Riggs, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Yum Brands, parent of KFC, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut, just unveiled an artificial intelligence-driven restaurant technology platform called Bite by Yum. The new technology will be used in online and mobile app ordering, for kitchen and delivery, for inventory, managing staff, and will include tools for team members. Yum's worldwide sales rose 8% in the recent quarter, with the strongest increase at Taco Bell. It's also raising the dividend it pays to shareholders by 6%. Eli Lilly's quarter is mixed. The stock is lower. It makes weight loss treatment Zepbound. Honeywell will split itself into 3 separate companies following General Electric. It's one of the last big industrial conglomerates. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda, invested in you.
AM 560 news time is 8:05. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
If you listen to the mainstream media and the Democrats, you'd think it was a sin to be black and conservative. Well, John Anthony blows up that perception every week on Black and Right. Join John this Saturday afternoon at 4 when he pushes back against the left and its regressive, progressive agenda that tries to dictate how people should think or feel about politics. Listen to Black and Right this Saturday afternoon at 4 right here on AM 560. The Answer.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
With over 50 years of precision tooling, that's a lot of job shop work and custom parts. And it's why Brusher Machining is the go-to CNC turning and machining company in Chicagoland. If you have a custom project, whether it's a single prototype or a short-run production of a few thousand pieces, give them a call today for your free custom quote. 630-876-1661. That's 630-876-1661. Or visit BrusherMachining.com. That's BRUCHER machining.com. They also provide heat treating, balancing, plating, and surface coating, welding and fabrication, plus project management. Brusher Machining guarantees to consistently deliver high-quality parts and solutions on time for reasonable prices. Yeah, everyone says that, but the proof is in the tooling. Stop by to meet their team of seasoned pros and tour the facility located in West Chicago. To learn more about how CNC machining can turn your tough project into an operational reality, contact Brusher Machining today for your free custom quote. 630-876-1661.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Police Sergeant Christopher David Fitzgerald of the Temple University Police Department sustained fatal gunshot wounds while attempting to arrest a robbery suspect. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation provided a mortgage-free home to his wife and their 5 children in honor of their forever hero. Christopher was a great father, husband, brother, and son who is so very missed. Heroes like Christopher protect and serve our communities and our nation. Show your support. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
8:08, and let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Kennedy inbound 50 minutes. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike 1 hour 390 into the old post office. Dan Ryan express lanes all jammed up inbound 47th into the Stevenson. That's a 36-minute trip in from 95th. Delays on DuSable Lakeshore Drive northbound between Foster and Hollywood. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
After a cloudy start, some sun, breezy day. High today 40, breezy this evening, clear to partly cloudy tonight and a low 19. Clouds and sun tomorrow, the high 32. Sleet and freezing rain on Saturday, high Saturday 35. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
31 at O'Hare. Next news at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. This is a bit of a unique J6 case. Jay Johnston is an actor from Chicago. Columbia College grad, Second City veteran. You may know him from TV series like Bob's Burgers, Better Call Saul, Arrested Development. He's been in movies too, like Anchorman. He was there on J6 in 2023, arrested about 6 months later in California, and pled out in October of last year before being pardoned by President Trump as part of his pardons for J6 defendants, convicts, etc. And of course, interestingly, because it's not like getting in trouble with the law in Hollywood is a unique occurrence. But despite that, he has essentially been blacklisted in Hollywood. I mean, despite the fact that a lot of actors have run-ins with the law and continue on in their career, but not Jay Johnston. And he joins us now to share his story. Jay, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. How are you?
Morning. So tell us what happened. What were you doing on J6?
Well, I went there to, like many other people, just to protest the insane changes that the left was putting on our society in general, and basically to stand up for our First Amendment right for free speech, and it went south pretty quick, and there was violence, as we all know. It wasn't as bad as the news has basically characterized it over this time that we've heard about it. It's never been really straightforward about that day, and that truth is coming out now.
What did you do exactly? I know you pled out to a single felony charge, right? And
yeah.
you were going to serve a year and a day before the pardon. But I mean, what specifically did you do, and what was the legal process? Your assessment of the legal process in terms of ultimately deciding to take that plea.
Sure. Well, I was aware of the weaponization of the DOJ against people who were at the January 6th event, and it became clear to me as time went on that there was really no way to get a fair trial to be before a D.C. jury that was extremely biased, and the D.C. judges and the prosecutors were really unprecedented in their bias against these defendants. And I didn't feel like I could get a fair trial in D.C., and you couldn't move the trial to another location because they prohibited that. So I was faced, when we were planning on going to trial, with a decision whether or not to take my chances and have my possible sentence be tripled, or to plea out. And I decided to do that. Originally, I was charged with 5 crimes, 3 misdemeanors and 2 felonies, which then I pled out to 1 felony. And they tried to characterize my actions as being violent, even though there was video to support that they weren't. They were able to push that narrative for months and months, and then.
So what did you do? Where were you? What did you do?
Well, I ended up perhaps the worst thing was that I ended up in this area called the Tunnel, which was considered to be the most violent part of the events that day. And at one point, somebody handed a police shield to me, and I gave it back to the police, and they characterized that as assault because I did no violence, and I was caught up in a crowd push where I was trying to get out of there. Yeah. But they were just, smushing people in there.
You didn't. You didn't punch anybody. You didn't push anybody. You were just caught up in the melee.
I didn't even look at anyone in a weird way. I was not violent at all.
Well, then, Jay, when did you realize? So you got home from January 6th, and when did you realize that you might be getting arrested or becoming one of the J6ers?
Right. Well, it was a month later after I felt as if I was lucky and wasn't going to get arrested that the FBI put images of me, some pictures that I grabbed from a video of me at the Capitol, and I was just using my phone videoing things, and they put my face, up on Twitter and asked anybody if they general call, does anybody know the name of this person wanted for assault on a federal officer? So then people started responding to that. That's Jay Johnston from this show or this thing and blah, blah, blah. And that was unfortunate, but they immediately found out who I was. And did
they come to your house?
Where everything started. Pardon me?
Did they come to your house, the FBI?
Well, I had an attorney at that point, and I said, listen, I'll come in and have an interview with you guys. I didn't do anything wrong, but just don't do an early morning raid on my house.
Yeah, and, don't give me the SEAL Team 6 treatment like I'm a pro-life sidewalk prayer warrier.
Or Roger Stone or Trump.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and that was fine for a while, and they said, yeah, sure, we'll let you know, and we'll probably arrest you. And I said, okay, well, just let me know, and I'll come in. And then we were given I was given an opportunity to come in for an interview, and before I was even able to give my answer, 5:30 some Tuesday morning after Memorial Day, I think it was, they were banging on the door, and it was like 25 agents and automatic rifles.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
So you cooperate and they do it anyway.
Yeah, you were willing to come in, I'll surrender and said, but they have to make a big show of it, of course. Well, I mean, when you got 5,000 agents assigned to these cases, as we've recently learned, you got to give these guys something to do, I suppose. What's been I sort of have a sense of it, and I mentioned it generally speaking, but be specific with us in terms of as this saga is unfolding, and then you're dealing with the charges against you. What happens in Hollywood? Did all your friends disappear? Anybody stand by you? How immediate was the sort of reaction professionally?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I did not expect the reaction that happened. After I was put up on Twitter, it was within a couple of days that I was fired from Bob's Burgers and another show on Adult Swim, Mama Named Me Sheriff. They stopped production, and I called my agent saying, hey, there's all this information out there about me being fired from Bob's Burgers. Do you know anything about that? And my agent basically said, no, we don't know anything about that, but we're firing you. So that was that. And yeah.
How long have you been with your agent? Were you guys good friends?
Well, not very.
Can you ever really be good friends with an agent?
Well,
anyway,
yeah, you can.
It was about 12, 13 years I was with them. Yeah, it was. And, I didn't hear anything from the show, Bob's Burgers. They didn't call me or anything. I just learned through media articles, hit pieces on me, that I had been fired and banned from the offices and all this strong language. So everybody I knew in Hollywood, it's a business where networking is quite important. So you have a group of friends, and you have people that will hire you in the future, perhaps, that type of thing. They all just turned their backs on me, unfortunately, and basically hadn't heard from anybody for years because of this.
Well, have things gotten better, or do you think they will now that Trump's in office again?
I hope they will. I certainly don't expect it to change overnight. I think the pendulum is definitely swinging back or in the right direction. And, we're hopeful for the future, my family and myself. But at this point, people are still a bit timid. They still are also believing a lot of the lies about January 6th. And I'm very grateful that a lot of the truth is coming out, and I just hope it continues.
Maybe you can get in contact with Trump's Hollywood ambassadors, Stallone and Voight, and who am I missing? Well, there's one more.
Yeah,
Mel Gibson.
Right.
Mel Gibson,
John Voight, is that right?
Yeah.
Are you friends with him?
Yeah.
Do you want to become friends with him? But people that are canceled in Hollywood are coming back. I mean, it's just a matter of time. So hopefully you'll...
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible. I mean, I'm a writer as well, and so I do have some outlets and opportunities that I can explore in that realm as well. So I'm hopeful, but it's going to take a while for these extreme lefties to sort of open their eyes to the reality of what's happened for J6ers and their families, and then eventually me.
Well, what are you doing for income? I mean, how are you supporting yourself?
Well, I've actually shifted into the handyman phase of my career.
Okay.
And basically, in my neighborhood and word of mouth, I just work on people's houses and that type of thing. So if you need anything done, I can jump on a plane and...
Jeez.
Well, it's going to be needed in California.
Can Jason Bateman, since you arrested Valen, can he throw you a bone, at least have you come over to the house and do some work? I mean, nothing?
Really? Yeah, I mean, he's got to have some kind of, a doorknob here or there.
Yeah, right?
Loose or something.
Well, I mean,
Right.
you have a good sense of humor about it, and obviously it sounds like it's tough. But I mean,
it is tough.
It's right. I mean, the Hollywood the Hollywood that suborned Harvey Weinstein and P. Diddy can't tolerate this. I know it's.
I know.
It's just
amazing.
mind-numbing.
But do you? I mean, is there a change? I mean, there seems to be maybe a little bit of dulling of the blade in Hollywood as compared to Trump's first term. Is that true or no?
Well, I think that it's going that direction. It's. People, I think, are exhausted with this focus on the political infighting and issues that are just blown way out of proportion, like January 6th, for example. I think people are tired of hearing about it, and they want it to, go to rest and put to bed, And this resurgence of this issue after Trump's pardon, thank God he did that, it's brought it back into the news and back into people's consciousness, and it's something that needs to be put to bed. The truth is coming out and will be understood as to what actually led to this unprecedented lawfare and the DOJ's overreach and all this stuff. That's just, I mean, the prosecutors have been fired. The whole system is. It's showing how the system has a bunch of flaws in it in general for anybody who has to go through it.
Did you have to serve any time, or did you get pardoned before you had to report?
Well, I spent a day in jail when I was originally arrested.
Okay.
That was back earlier in 2023. 2022, later in 2022, I believe. And then I bonded out and basically had been going to a few hearings in D.C., a bunch of hearings over Zoom, and we were getting to the point where we were going to go to trial, and then decided to take the plea. And I did not go to jail. I was supposed to report today, February 6th,
Wow.
to prison. Yeah.
Instead, you're reporting into the AM 560 morning show.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, we got a text message.
Not quite as bad as prison.
Dan and Amy, tell Jay that Paul from PYC says hi.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
So he's listening.
Hey, Paul.
What's
Awesome.
PYC?
Fantastic.
What is PYC?
Parkside Youth Center. It was in, now where was that? Parkside Youth Center was in Norwich, maybe?
Where'd you go to high school?
Yeah, and that's I graduated high school there, and
Ridgewood.
at Parkside. use. I don't know. It was Maine North, I believe.
Oh, that's right. They use that for Breakfast Club, and it's been shut down.
Okay. Okay. All right. Very good.
Right. Which high school is Schurz, though.
Oh, you went to Schurz?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Okay. So, I mean,
I'll tell you, the weather report really brought me back to homesick.
Yeah, brought you why if you're going to be in a failed blue state, you're going to choose California over Illinois, right? So just in Hollywood, I mean, hopefully, this and some other things you're doing get you profiled. There's got to be some conservatives out there, some people that are sensible in the industry that, but have enough cachet to take a chance on you and deal with any, silly blowback. Isn't there? Nobody?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there are people, and, it's a process here because I'm not going to say that I expect people to step forward. That's asking a lot.
Yeah.
Eventually, when things calm down a bit, I, expect it a bit. But, you can't really expect other people to put their neck on the line at this stage due to it's some white knuckle holding on to the left ideology is what's going on here. People are not willing to let go of that. The lies of the previous administration and that poor unfortunate president of ours last term who I don't think he knew what he was doing for most of his administration. I don't think he was there as president. So
you got to get to Stallone and say, come on, just a guest spot in Tulsa King. I mean, I'm not asking a lot here. Taylor Sheridan, maybe, right?
Yeah, really. It's going to happen somehow. I think so.
Oh, my God. Now, please tell Jay that Bob Moran from Wilmette says to say hi.
Oh, yeah, Bob.
By
awesome.
Annoyance Theater alum.
That's right.
Fellow conservative, he said.
Oh,
a lot of people
good.
say that you should play.
Awesome.
You should write a movie, and you could play yourself in the movie.
Perfect. Yes.
Jay,
yeah, I can't wait. I've got to work out and get in shape.
Jay Johnston is a acclaimed actor. You know him from Bob's Burgers, Better Call Saul, Arrested Development, Anchorman. Hopefully, much more to come in the future. Jay Johnston, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it. Good luck to you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
And Jay, real quick, somebody else suggested that you should contact Angel Studios.
Oh, yes, Angel Studios, yeah.
Yeah, Jim Caviezel. Have Caviezel hook you up. There you go.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. That would be wonderful.
All right, thanks.
I will do that. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jay. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
To Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Jeff Tishlar, author of High Tech versus the Highest Tech, has shared his knowledge of the spectacular things that we see in nature as opposed to what man has created and how this should inform one's faith. Jeff served on the mission field all over the world and has created this highly illustrated and concisely written technical book. The easy-to-read format is understood from the youngest reader to the most intelligent and mature readers. Google and Amazon book reviews include, "This is the best little book I have ever read. It is amazing how much information is in this book." And a beautifully written and illustrated book. The author has a gift for describing complicated technical details in a very understandable style. This book is available now in paperback on Amazon. Search High Tech versus the Highest Tech by Jeff Tishlar. 100% of proceeds go to missions. That's High Tech vs. the Highest Tech by Jeff Tishlar.
I am so excited about QC Kinetics. I met somebody a few months ago who told me that she drives from St. George, Utah to Las Vegas for QC Kinetics for regenerative medicine. Why? Well, she had a hip operation, and guess what? It didn't work. And then when her other hip started hurting, the right side of her hip, I should say, she went to QC Kinetics, and she loves it. Regenerative medicine, we're talking about orthobiologic cellular therapies, including PRP treatments. They can revitalize your joints without going under the knife. If you have chronic pain in your shoulder, your hip, your knees, your shoulders, due to an injury or due to arthritis, there's hope besides cortisone shots, going under the knife, and being addicted to drugs. It's QC Kinetics. Treatments prompt your body to heal and restore damaged joints, so there's no downtime. Joint pain does not get better with time, folks. So before it's absolutely debilitating, see if you are a candidate for these life-changing treatments. Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation. Tell them Amy Jacobson sent you. Saturday appointments available. It is free. They will walk you through the process and see whether or not if you're a good candidate for regenerative medicine. The number to call, 312-809-5955, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
So when we saw the advertisements for this by reputable people, I told my husband, I said, well, we don't have anything to lose, so let's do it. Within a month, I could see a difference. It's really great. Y'all should let me do those commercials. Do you know how many people I have gotten to take Balance of Nature?
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements today. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't wait. Now's the time to take action. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
This is Sean Thompson. When you go on vacation, does it make sense to have somebody else pack for you? Of course not. The same can be said for your retirement. Your 401k could be packed with things you don't know about or even need. If you're close to retirement, but you don't have a plan customized to your goals, it's like kind of taking a 30-year vacation with no idea what's in the suitcase. Sounds like a stressful way to begin what should be a relaxing time. Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group can help you unpack your savings and build a plan to reduce future taxes, address Social Security and health care, and a whole lot more, all with a clear, defined income strategy. Call the Alpha Wealth Group at 630-934-1855. Ask for the complimentary retirement plan. That's 630-934-1855 or online at alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on AM 560.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll talk trans with evolutionary biologist and Manhattan Institute fellow Colin Wright at 8:38.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
30 degrees. Cloudy skies at 8:32. Today is the deadline for federal workers to accept the Trump administration offer to pay them through September if they agree to resign this month. Reports indicate as many as 40,000 federal employees have accepted the deal. This morning, Swedish police say the shooter who killed 10 in that country's worst ever mass shooting was connected to the adult education center where he opened fire. May have been a student there. President Trump delivering remarks moments ago at the National Prayer Breakfast this morning on Capitol Hill. The president calling for unity between the two political parties.
We have to put our country first, making America stronger and greater and more exceptional than ever before, and we have to make religion a much more important factor now. We have to make it an important factor, and if we do that, it's going to be, our job is just going to be much easier.
The president also saying he believes they need to bring religion back to help fix some of the biggest problems in the country. A federal judge is blocking President Trump's attempt to restrict birthright citizenship in the U.S. A Maryland district judge heard arguments Wednesday related to a request that put a preliminary injunction in place blocking that executive order. The former interpreter for L.A. Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani will be sentenced today. Ippei Mizuhara, the 40-year-old, stole nearly $17 million from Shohei Ohtani. Turns out that juice cleanse may not be as beneficial as you think. A new study out of Northwestern University here in town finds that veggie and fruit juice only diets can change your gut and oral bacteria. It also suggests that stripping the fiber out of fruit will cause an imbalance with negative consequences. Chicago Teachers Union says an independent arbitrator found that Chicago public school officials have more money to offer in contract negotiations than they're letting on, but CTU leaders are rejecting the entire neutral fact finder report, and that could lead the district and CTU closer to a strike. Mayor Brandon Johnson has rescinded a COVID-era mandate, forcing city employees to get vaccinated against COVID-19, a move that is now fueling demands for back pay and perhaps reinstatement. Bulls lost to the Timberwolves 127-108. Blackhawks fall in overtime to Edmonton 4-3. College hoops Fighting Illini stubbed their toe on unranked Rutgers with an 82-73 loss. DePaul lost to Villanova, and Illinois State snuck past UIC. The news, a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. What if you could save an average of 90% to get 100% of your smile back with the Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP? It's possible. Check if you qualify, AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Are you ready for it? The biggest game of the year is almost here. Will the reigning champs shake it off and defend their title? Or will the birds from Philly write their own love story and fly to victory? This showdown is the one you won't want to miss. Predict the exact score of the big game, and you could win $50,000 big dollars. For terms and conditions and to submit your prediction today, go to 560theanswer.com/game. That's 560theanswer.com/game.
While Dennis Prager is recuperating, we know you miss your daily dose of Dennis. That's why Pragertopia is giving you a special gift. Right now, Pragertopia members can hear the best 2 hours of Dennis's favorite segments from as far back as 2010. On Monday, you can hear the Happiness Hour.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what I'm about.
Tuesday is Celebrity Guest Day.
Donald Trump Jr. is in studio with me.
On Wednesday, it's the Male-Female Hour.
I really do wish there were a way to ascertain the number of marriages that this hour has helped.
Thursday, the Ultimate Issues Hour.
Not having ultimate issues clarity is like having a map, but you don't know where you're going.
And Friday is Open Lines.
Feel free to ask me anything about me, about you, about life.
So if you're missing your daily dose of Dennis, go to Pragertopia.com and hear all your favorite segments, along with lectures, celebrity interviews, his famous Torah teachings, and more. Get your daily dose of Dennis at Pragertopia.com. Pragertopia.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
So when we saw the advertisements for this by reputable people, I told my husband, I said, well, we don't have anything to lose, so let's do it. Within a month, I could see a difference. It's really great. Y'all should let me do those commercials. Do you know how many people I have gotten to take Balance of Nature?
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements today. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't wait. Now's the time to take action. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Chicagoland certified financial planning professional Tim Stearns discusses taxes in retirement.
Most people are paying more in taxes and keeping less of their money to live and do what they enjoy. That's why we've put out the retirement tax bill calculator online. You can see with your own eyes just how much you might be overpaying. It's a valuable tool, $500 value, but we made it free for you to view and run your own numbers at MVPCFP.com. That's MVPCFP.com.
To run your retirement tax bill calculator, go to MVPCFP.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC.
8:39, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Rapid Radio's push-to-talk walkie-talkies, offering instant national LTE coverage. You can keep up with about 200 staff members at one time. RapidRadios.com now, 60% off, free shipping. Plainfield, Joliet area, Will County. Plainfield Road eastbound between I-55 and Essington Road. They're waiting on a tow for a stalled semi right now, causing some big delays. Lockport, an accident with injuries. Archer Avenue at 151st. Delays on the Milwaukee District West line. Trains are about 25 minutes out, delayed, as earlier vehicle stuck on the tracks is removed out of their way. We've got eyes on DuSable Lakeshore Drive this morning. Northbounders, you're jammed up right at Foster. And an accident, I-57. It's as you travel on the northbound side between Sauk Trail and US 30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Breezy with decreasing clouds in your forecast, a high near 40 and a low of 19 overnight. 31 in clouds at O'Hare. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning.
All right, we
Dan.
want to remind people March 4th is the date. That is the day that President Trump will make his first address to a joint session of Congress, and we are throwing a watch party. Everybody wants to go. You're invited to join us. We'll be at the Meridian Banquets and Conference Center in Rolling Meadows. We'll enjoy dinner before the speech and then watch the speech together. You'll hear from both of us and Sean Thompson before and after the speech with our analysis and reaction. And Sean will be broadcasting on location before the event. Tickets are on sale now. 560theanswer.com/watch. That's 560theanswer.com/watch.
So yesterday, Trump had a ceremony to officially sign an executive order that has been telegraphed that would prohibit men from playing women's sports, at least if you are a school that is interested in federal Title IX funding. This was his prefatory remark in advance of the announcement.
Female athletes have been forced onto the front lines, and men claiming to be girls have stolen more than 3,500 victories. That's a lot. And invaded more than 11,000 competitions designed for women. Last year, a male cyclist posing as a woman competed in the 800-mile Arizona Trail Race, a very big deal in cycling, and obliterated the women's course record by nearly 5.5 hours. Sounds like a lot, doesn't it, huh? 5.5 hours. So, but you have to hear the weightlifting records. You think that's bad? The weightlifting's worse. In 2023, a man in women's powerlifting broke 2 world records and outlifted his closest female opponent in one event by 440 pounds. And who could forget last year's Paris Olympics, where a male boxer stole the women's gold medal after brutalizing his female opponent so viciously that she had to forfeit just after 46 seconds, and she was a championship fighter. And actually, they had 2 women or 2 people that transitioned, and both of them won gold medals, and they won them very convincingly. But all of that ends today because with this executive order, the war on women's sports is over.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. This was such a big issue during the campaign, as Trump mentioned. I mean, somewhat women's sports, but largely just the sort of the identity politics piece of it, and trans in particular is underneath the umbrella of identity politics, most notably with that commercial that the Trump campaign ran focusing on Kamala Harris's support for taxpayer funding of gender reassignment surgeries for inmates. But this is an important issue, too, because there have been so many incidents of girls being hurt by men playing women's sports, and, as Trump mentioned, opportunities being taken from women by men playing women's sports.
And I was so happy that Riley Gaines was there, because she was robbed of an NCAA championship because of, what do we call them, clownfish?
Yeah.
And I mean, just think about it. She worked her whole life, spent hours, weeks, months, years, decades in the pool, striving in excelling in a sport, and then a man comes and just takes it away from her. A man who, by the way, swam on the Penn men's team for 3 years before joining the women's team.
It doesn't mean that this is going to go smoothly and without pushback. For example, one of the high-profile men playing a women's sport last season, most recently, was a dude at San Jose State University on the women's volleyball team.
Outside hitter, yep.
And there was some pushback from players. There was some pushback from coaches, including the assistant coach at San Jose State University. And the university has decided not to renew her contract.
No.
She was suspended in November. She filed a Title IX complaint against the school, and now they're saying you're not invited back. So there are still going to be consequences delivered by the left where they are in positions of authority the best they can. I'm sure there will be additional pushback against this too. It's interesting, just as a matter of cultural import. Since we were just talking to Jay Johnston, Hollywood actor from Chicago. I mean, you saw that this controversy around the star of the movie Emilia Perez, which is nominated for Best Picture, and
14 nominations.
The star is nominated for Best Actress.
Yeah, even
though
it's a dude.
The star is a dude nominated for Best Actress. That's why they have to keep the actor and actress categories, in case there's a dude identifying a woman or a woman identifying as a dude, so they can make sure that they're nominated. And it's the wonderful story. Kyle Smith writes about it in the Journal. The operatic tale of a Mexican drug lord who becomes a better person by undergoing transition. Right, of course. There's nothing a gender transition can't cure, including leaving one's violent lifestyle as a drug lord behind, because once you trans, you're a magical person.
Well, it's the softer side of you, Dan, when you become a woman.
It turns out that not so magical. No. This dude from Spain, the actor, goes by Carlos Sofia Gasson, born Juan Carlos Gasson, offered some posts on social media that were not received well by the identitarian community in Hollywood. So everything's going sort of quiet.
Okay, what did What did she post?
Oh, a bunch of stuff.
Really?
On George Floyd, on Islam, on Hitler. There's got a late breaking news flash for you. A lot of these actors and actresses in Hollywood, they're not particularly bright. They're not particularly thoughtful. Their talent is very narrow.
Do they think before they tweet?
A lot of them don't, including Gasson. More and more the Oscars are looking like a ceremony for independent protest films. I didn't know if I was watching an Afro-Korean festival, a Black Lives Matter demonstration, or the 8M. Apart from that, an ugly, ugly gala. The 8M is the International Women's Day. I guess that's a reference. Whatever. Where she complained about she was worried that Spain was seeing an increase in Muslims. She noticed Muslim women taking I keep saying she, it's a dude, but Gasson noticed more Muslim women taking his daughter to school and so on and so forth. Whatever. I mean, it's some stupid stuff about Hitler. I mean, this guy's, well, first of all, there's a mental challenge there because he's parading around as a woman. Okay. And so on top of that, he's not particularly thoughtful or considered in his remarks on a range of topics. And this has brought offense to the Hollywood identitarian set, and so now it's it's one of those, the left cannibalizing the left, the identitarians cannibalizing the identitarian story, which is fine. Bonnie in Crown Point, Indiana.
Hello. Thank you for taking my call. I'm going to be 70 this year, and when I was in college, now I was a competitive swimmer for my since I was a small child. And I wanted to swim in college, but the school I went to did not have a women's swim team. So I swam NCAA men's, and I swam, and I got my butt kicked. And I was a good swimmer for a girl, but that was my only option. And, maybe looking back in retrospect, having me as the butterflyer on the medley relay team probably wasn't the wisest choice of my coach, but I had to go through the athletic physical, the same one that the boys went through. I had to, do everything except I changed in the girls' locker room, of course. But it wasn't fun, and I can really speak to, I could not compete as good a shape as I was at the time. I could not compete against the guys, and that's all I'm saying.
Thanks for the call, Bonnie. Well, that was part of the silliness of all this, the junk science, and people out there, the trans proponents, whether they're actual trans or just proponents, are just throwing in, to the identitarian cause du jour. But the idea people were saying there's no evidence that men have a physical advantage over women in sports. I mean, it's just. This is like there's no evidence that the world is round. I mean, it's just that this is what you're dealing with, which is why it's so difficult, and you get such vociferous pushback because it's so woven into their own sense of moral rectitude that for them to have to concede even things that are beyond dispute the manifest weight of the evidence, the scientific truth as we understand it. They can't bring themselves to do it because it's sort of their whole sort of position and status, sort of self-conferred and group conferred, would crumble. So you're not going to get reasoned conversation with most of these people. You just have to sort of move on and provide, sort of as Trump has, as the campaign did, provide opportunities for people who know better but are afraid to finally act, if not speak, in furtherance of what they know to be true. So many people cowering. I mean, even parents, like you talked about that Leah Thomas dude at Penn and all that. Where were the parents? Where are the Ivy League parents standing up for their girls on the Penn team, standing up against what Penn was doing? Where were San Jose State? Where are they?
Riley Gaines mentioned that, too, when we had her here for one of our events. She said, my dad was just seething and pacing back and forth, but, I told him, let me handle this.
Well, that's fine, but I mean...
She didn't want him to do something stupid.
Yeah, I mean...
I know it's uncharted territory. I mean, it's like, look what the left has done to us, and now we're finally getting something normal back.
Well, Riley Gaines, she took the mantle, so that's one thing. But there's girls as well as parents that are just, let's not do anything. We don't want to risk anything, and so on and so forth. No, you're adults. You can't sit idly by and watch this go on.
Text message, Dan and Amy, don't you think it's funny that the majority of trans people that you see never look happy? They're always angry. They're always getting mad about something. transitioning is what's going to make you a happier person, why aren't you ever happy?
I mean, it's a mixed bag. I mean, it's not, I don't know. I'm sure there's some people walking around pretending to be a sex that they're not, that have convinced themselves they're happy, or they're happy. I don't know.
Then there's a lot of clingers around, too, who just dress up as women. Like, men are wearing skirts. Men have man buns now. Men are doing yoga. They're, infiltrating our world.
Yeah, I'm not here to, it's like you define your own happiness and choose your own course of happiness, but we're not going to have a medical establishment that's in the business of mutilating kids. We're not going to do that. I'm not going to call a dude in a dress a woman. I'm not going to say a dude pretending to be a woman should be competing against women in the pool or on the volleyball court. I'm just not going to do that. And, we're back to some semblance of reality thanks to Trump. Lou in Chicago Heights.
Hey, this is Big Lou, international sports icon. I've got one of the best female fighters in the country. Ranked at 154 is ranked number 3 in the world, number 6 in the world. And when she spars 16, 17-year-old boys that are decent fighters, she has a hard time competing against them. And, going against, better male fighters, there is absolutely no comparison. When she goes and spars and fights women, it's totally different. And I don't understand where the wrong-headedness in this world comes from.
Thanks for the call, Lou.
I think he's at the gym right now.
Well, he's a sports icon.
On the bar.
That's where sports icons hang out. You just heard him. He's Lou, the sports icon.
Because I said so.
Speaking of conferring status. All right, I appreciate that, Lou. Good perspective. Lou. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Ad paid for by Anthem Tax Services. Attention, if you or your business is behind in filing your tax returns, or if you owe over $10,000 in back taxes to the IRS, please listen carefully. The IRS does not joke around and will not stop their collection efforts. If you're tired of the IRS letters, levies, liens, or wage garnishments and would like to get a fresh start, we can help. Due to the financial hardships in the country, the IRS is making it easier than ever to settle tax problems for those who owe more than $10,000. We can help settle your delinquent tax problems, end all collections, and may even reduce your back taxes significantly. Even if you can't afford to pay your back taxes, you can still get the help you need. We've helped thousands of taxpayers just like you, but you must call 800-216-0307 today to stop your tax problem from getting worse. The information is free and the help is real. Call 800-216-0307. That's 800-216-0307. Again, 800-216-0307.
MyPillow is excited to announce that they're having the first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 30% on their brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one Mike has worn every day for 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get the 2025 6-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. The initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And the best-selling standard MyPillow, just $14.98. To take advantage of the first ever mega sale, go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201. That's 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship has sailed because right now every order ships absolutely free. MyPillow.com, promo code LIBERTY.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Paul Jenkins, owner of Bancroft Architects and Engineers, a service-disabled veteran-owned small business providing design solutions for clients, including the VA. When looking for a trusted banking partner, Bancroft was lucky to find that partner in Signature Bank in 2015. With Signature, personal service goes beyond a login and a PIN number. My staff and I have the comfort of knowing that we're dealing with real people who know our business and care about us as individuals. Signature helped finance our new state-of-the-art facility, and Bancroft looks forward to further expanding business opportunities for disabled veterans and historically disadvantaged communities.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping...
Like surveillance footage from, nearby the course, maybe a home caught it on camera?
There's no homes on the course. It's a sanctuary.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, no, there's no it's fine.
Between you and God and the ball. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. Hopefully it goes on my permanent record, even though it won't be acknowledged on this mortal coil.
All right, thanks so much for making this part of your morning, part of your lives. Thanks to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. We're here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Now into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
Freezing rain in the forecast made for quite a morning commute. CPD mourning the death of an officer. Mayor Brandon Johnson